Chapter 848 Glazed Cup. Yi Qingtang did not have any special relations with Yin Yang Child, and had only met him a few times when she was in the Central Dynasty. Then, she felt that it was extremely unbelievable that he could enter Eternal Dynasty's honor roll list for the younger generation at such a young age. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply when she saw Yin Yang Child's skull being cut off by the elderly scepter instantly. While Yin Yang Child's martial skills were suppressed because he entered this mainland, that black-robed elderly faced the same treatment as well. However, before Yi Qingtang could think deeply, she realized that Yin Yang Child's headless body did not collapse, and instead took 2 steps forward. In the next second, Yin Yang Child regrew a skull at a visible speed. Yin Yang Child, the black-robed elderly, was astonished. You actually possess the body of indestructibility. Emotionless, the youth stared at the elderly before him coldly. What I hate most in my life is people calling me a child. You make me very angry. Humph, the black-robed elderly scoffed, and the valiant aura of an arcane supremacy emerged around him. Although it was said that the spirit energy on this mainland was too thin, while both the martial realms of Yin Yang Child and the black-robed elderly were suppressed to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord realm, the overbearing manner of an arcane supremacy was, however, not weakened. I'm also an arcane supremacy. Are you thinking of using your overbearing manner to intimidate me? Yin Yang Child asked coldly. Little thing. You've only entered the arcane supremacy for a while. How dare you be so insolent to me? The black-robed elderly shouted angrily. This shout was so powerful that even Yi Qingtang, who hid in the corner, could not help but frown deeply and turn pale. Those people were already a supremacy, and although the insufficient spirit energy caused their skills to be suppressed to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord realm, the current Yi Qingtang was like an ant when compared to them. Swoosh! Then a gleam flashed across. In a flash, the black-robed elderly's right arm was chopped off by the sword in Yin Yang Child's hand. How's that? Yin Yang Child said indifferently without looking back. Despite losing an arm, the black-robed elderly did not even frown, making it seem as though it was nothing important. Good. Yin Yang Child, I will not hound you. The enmity between us has deepened again, because of this one arm. As the black-robed elderly spoke, his entire body faded and vanished from the place. After the black-robed elderly left, Yin Yang Child's complexion seemed a little pale. Although it was a body of indestructibility, he required a large supply of spirit energy to achieve it. However, the spirit energy on this mainland was overly thin, and it was a little difficult even for Yin Yang Child to bear with it. Body of indestructibility, Yi Qingtang was in thought. It was rumored that Yin Yang Child had a top blue spirit root that allowed him to understand the paragon skill, the body of indestructibility. As long as his heart was not destroyed, and the spirit root was not reduced, he would not die. Glazed cup. As Yi Qingtang was lost in her thoughts, she saw a glazed cup floating in the air. There was an extremely rich spirit energy in the glazed cup, and if Yi Qingtang could obtain it, she could easily break through to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord realm. Immediately, Yi Qingtang ignored Yin Yang Child and walked towards the glazed cup. Chapter 849 Destined to be single. A while later, Yi Qingtang walked several hundred meters and arrived right beneath the glazed cup. Yi Qingtang leaped and took the glazed cup easily. The moment the glazed cup was in her hands, intense spirit energy enveloped Yi Qingtang entirely, which gave her the impulse of advancing to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord realm. The glazed cup was classified as an extremely precious treasure that could collect spirit energy. Leaving this mainland aside, it was also very rare in the central mainland. If it was placed in an auction in the central mainland, it could be auctioned off at a sky-high price. Delight emerged in Yi Qingtang's eyes as she looked at the glazed cup in her hands. Regardless of Beiming Manor, Peerless School, or Phantom Valley, the current her was too weak compared to them, and all the more could not be mentioned on equal terms with the powerful figures from the central mainland. Only by increasing her own martial cultivation realm could she reduce the gap. Nevertheless, Yi Qingtang knew that there was not much time left for her. The Xianling sect masses were not yet rescued. The crisis of extermination, which master-perfected Xianxin and Falling Sky Valley would face, was not yet resolved, Sometime later, that ancient family clan from the central mainland would come to collect the extraordinary lattice spiritual abode and completely destroy this mainland. By then, everyone would be killed. Yet, with the skills of only a half-step yin-yang perfected lord currently, what could she do? Presently Yi Qingtang had an inexplicable, urgent desire for power. This desire for power was not for herself. Yi Qingtang did not wish to be a so-called world savior. What she wanted and needed to do was to protect the lives of her family and friends, as well as ensure that they were safe as sound. Swoosh! Suddenly, a piercing sound was heard. With brows deeply furrowed, Yi Qingtang looked behind her only to see an aloof-looking youth walking towards her with great strides. "You are a citizen of this mainland," said Yin Yang Child coldly after sizing up Yi Qingtang casually. Yin Yang Child's sudden appearance caught Yi Qingtang off guard. Nonetheless, Yin Yang Child had already discovered her, and Yi Qingtang could only face him. After all, she had no grudges with Yin Yang Child. "Yes, I am," Yi Qingtang admitted straightforwardly. "Very good." Yin Yang Child stretched his hand out and said, "Hand me the item in your hands, and you can leave. I found this item first, and it is already in my hands. Why must I hand it to you?" Yi Qingtang asked. "Why?" Yin Yang Child took a few more looks at Yi Qingtang. "You are pretty courageous. Since you wish to know why, I can tell you too. The reason is very simple. I can kill you easily. So, because you are more powerful than me, I must offer you my things to you without complaints when you're snatching it from me." Yi Qingtang questioned in a cold tone. "Oh, do all of the people from this mainland have such an unyielding character like you?" There were no emotions on Yin Yang Child's face as he added on. "You can stay by your unyielding character and die. That is the first route. The second route is to hand the glazed cup to me. Although you would lose your backbone, you still can live." Yi Qingtang did not reply anything at this instant, and was calculating how likely it was for her to survive when she battled with Yin Yang Child. If it was truly impossible, she needed to think of an escape plan. However, before Yi Qingtang could think further, a laugh sounded from ahead. "Yin Yang Child, if you bully such a beautiful older sister like that, I'm afraid no ladies will ever like you given your character." Chapter 850 Vomit blood from the angry Yin Yang Child, scanned the surroundings upon hearing that. "Who called me child? Hurry out and receive your death." After Yin Yang Child said that, a male with an almost perfect face walked out from the dark slowly. "I hate it the most when people tell me to receive my death, especially little children like you." A harmless smile played on Ling Yan's lips. He first took a look at Yi Qingtang, and subsequently fixed his eyes on Yin Yang Child. Ling Yan. After seeing the male, there was a hint of a ripple in Yin Yang Child's ever-icy eyes, and his brows were furrowed deeply. While Ling Yan was utterly useless in terms of martial skill, Yin Yang Child regarded him highly. "Ling Yan, I don't wish to see you. Leave. Otherwise I'll kill you," Yin Yang Child said coldly. However, Ling Yan sat on the ground cross-legged casually, as though he did not hear anything, and smiled innocently. "Since you don't wish to see me, you can get lost then." "Ling Yan, are you really not afraid of dying?" Yin Yang Child asked with a frown. "I am afraid of dying but not you." Ling Yan replied with a smile. "Good. I'll kill you then." Yin Yang Child unsheathed his sword immediately, and walked towards Ling Yan. "Yin Yang little child, let's play a game. I believe that you don't dare to kill me." Ling Yan saw a murderous look in Yin Yang Child's eyes, but was not at all frightened. "Oh, I want to know why." Yin Yang Child looked at Ling Yan, and replied without emotions. "Before I came to this mainland, I stole your father's precious treasure, the Nine Suns Seized Souls book, and hid it in a place that only I know of. If you kill me, your father will never find the Nine Suns Seized Souls book, and you will be beaten by your father then." Ling Yan replied with a smile. "What? You stole the Nine Suns Seized Souls book?" As Ling Yan spoke, Yin Yang Child's expression changed drastically, and he shook his head. "That's not right. Why do I not know that the Nine Suns Seized Souls book is missing?" Ling Yan looked at Yin Yang Child as though he was an idiot. "You mean that I still need to inform you or your father after I stole the Nine Suns Seized Souls book? If you're still unaware, It only shows that you all have not realized that the Nine Sons Seized Souls book is stolen, and that you cannot prove that the item is still there, isn't it? Yin Yang Child frowned in thought, and did not know whether he should believe him or not. It's better for you to go home, good baby, Ling Yan said. All right. Since you want to save her, you two must have a good relationship. I will kill her then. Yin Yang Child pointed at Yi Qingtang and said. Yi Qingtang stared blankly at Yin Yang Child. Was this Yin Yang Child's brain spoiled from the anger? What had this got to do with her? What has you killing her got to do with me? Ling Yan shook his head and said. This idiot. Why did your father give birth to such a stupid son like you? What did you say? Anger filled Yin Yang Child's face. There are many reasons for saving a person, and what you said is only one of them. There's another reason, which is that you're very unpleasant to my eye. Isn't it hitting two birds with one stone since I can save her and deride you? Ling Yan chuckled. All right. I will definitely kill her today. You wish to save her, but I just will not let you fulfill your wish. Yin Yang Child yelled furiously. Don't repeat yourself already. Quickly kill then, Ling Yan said. I'm already very impatient from waiting. However, given your father's reputation, if I return and say that his son killed someone to snatch a treasure, and that someone was even a defenseless lady, don't you think that your father will vomit blood from the anger? Chapter 851. A little less trouble. Yin Yang Child was not afraid of anything in the world except his father. Yet he was threatened using his father by Ling Yan right now, who used his father against him. Sponsored content. I'm afraid my father is not as compassionate as you make it. So what if I kill a lady? Yin Yang Child said coldly. This is interesting. Then, Ling Yan took out a black jade from his arms and played with it. In the next second, however, Yin Yang Child's voice sounded from the jade. I'm afraid my father is not as compassionate as you make it. So what if I kill a lady? This jade can record a person's voice and repeat it countless times. Yin Yang Child, I remember that your father is currently preparing to contend for the Alliance Chief position. If I hand this stone when your father is contesting for the position, and the sects hear it, do you think that your father can still attain the position? Ling Yan laughed chuckled. You, Ling Yan, how dare you scheme against me? Yin Yang Child was completely infuriated by Ling Yan at that instant. I'll kill you. Advertisement, you don't want the Nine Sons Seized Souls book anymore? Ling Yan asked. Sponsored content. Both Yi Qingtang and Yin Yang Child were speechless. Give me the Nine Sons Seized Souls book, and I'll spare your lives. Yin Yang Child could not hold back his anger. Ling Yan revealed the location of the book immediately. Ling Yan, you told me the location so easily. Are you not afraid that I'll go back on my words and kill you too? There was doubt in Yin Yang Child's eyes. Aren't you afraid that I told you a fake location then? Ling Yan smiled. You will look for it with me. If the Nine Sons Seized Souls book is really found, I'll let you off, Yin Yang Child said. Advertisement. Sponsored content. However, Ling Yan shook his head. Given my martial cultivation, the dragon vein is too dangerous for me. The Nine Sons Seized Souls book is hidden in a deep corner, by me using a flying spirit animal. If I head there with you, I'll lose my life anytime. And if that location is fake, there will no longer be the Nine Sons Seized Souls book in this world after I die. Ling Yan, is that location real or fake? Yin Yang Child clenched his fists tightly. Want you know it when you go take a look yourself. Ling Yan replied. Don't you dare play any tricks. Yin Yang Child waved his hand immediately, and inserted an aura on Ling Yan's body. With this aura, Yin Yang Child could find Ling Yan no matter where he was. Subsequently, Yin Yang Child disappeared and swiftly headed to the direction which Ling Yan pointed. Yin Yang Child's interest in the glazed cup was long gone. He was extremely anxious, and only wished to find the Nine Sons Seized Souls book in the fastest speed possible. Sponsored content. Advertisement. Once Yin Yang Child was completely gone, Yi Qingtang looked at the nonchalant Ling Yan and walked towards him. Thank you. You're welcome, Ling Yan said with a smile. Did you really steal the Nine Sons Seized Souls book from Yin Yang Child's father? Yi Qingtang asked curiously. Ling Yan shook his head upon hearing that. What would I steal his father's Nine Sons Seized Souls book for? I can't predict what's going to happen. So you were lying to him? Yi Qingtang was astonished. Of course I was, Ling Yan said as a matter of fact. So the location that you gave him? Yi Qingtang suddenly felt a little sorry for Yin Yang child. Advertisement. Oh, I found the location of one of his enemies by coincidence earlier on. That enemy of Yin Yang child has some enmity with me as well. This way, those two people would probably battle until the end of time, and we will have a little less trouble. Ling Yan explained with a smile. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 852 How Did I Die? Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan meaningfully. The rumored Ling Yan would definitely not do anything he had no confidence in. Sponsored content. I believe you led Yin Yang child to where his enemy is, but I don't believe it when you said that you did not steal the 9 Sons Seized Souls book from Yin Yang child's father, Yi Qingtang said. Ling Yan smiled faintly and sized up Yi Qingtang. That's right. I have some conflicts with Yin Yang child as well, and I've already stolen the 9 Sons Seized Souls book before I came to this mainland. Yi Qingtang could not help but gasp. This man was truly too scary. If Ling Yan was a friend, he could provide an endless sense of security. But if he was an enemy, the enemy's outcome would probably be eternal damnation. If Ling Yan was an enemy and not a friend, she would kill him regardless of the price she had advertisement-sponsored content to pay. What is your name? Ling Yan asked Yi Qingtang a moment later. Don't you know how to figure things out? Do I still need to tell you such a small thing like my name? Yi Qingtang said. Ling Yan laughed upon hearing that. Anything that can be figured out requires certain details. In this world, no one can produce things out of nothing. Since that's the case, how would I know your name for no reason? Yi Chun. Yi Qingtang replied perfunctorily. It seems that you still have not treated me as a friend. Otherwise, you would not have told me your fake name. Ling Yan shook his head. Sponsored content. How do you know that it's a fake name? Yi Qingtang was a little curious. Advertisement. Yi Chun is clearly a male's name, but you are a female. Ling Yan answered. Yi Qingtang. With no other way out, Yi Qingtang said her name straightforwardly. Miss Yi, it's our first time meeting. I am Ling Yan, the 3rd son of Eternal Dynasty's emperor. Ling Yan said with a smile. Before Yi Qingtang could say anything, Ling Yan continued on. Actually, I really wish to ask if you know how I died. Sponsored content. Yi Qingtang's brows furrowed instantly when Ling Yan said that, and she looked at Ling Yan questioningly. Ling Yan, what do you mean? I don't understand. Ling Yan said casually. Although it's said that the karma of the latter half of my life has not formed, to play it safe, I wish to ask you, someone who is reborn, what exactly is my outcome? Yi Qingtang was deep in thought. Advertisement. Ling Yan was not considered foreign to Yi Qingtang back then. Ling Yan destroyed the Central Dynasty by himself and ruled the entire First Domain. Sometime later, a war broke out between the First Domain and the Second Domain. Ling Yan, who was only at the Yin Yang perfected Lord realm then, laid a calamity of definite death, and he wanted to destroy the Second Domain completely. Nonetheless, some unforeseen events happened. More than half of the super figures died in Ling Yan's scheme, but eventually, those unforeseen events caused Ling Yan's scheme to fail. He disappeared, and it was unknown whether he was still alive or not. However, many people in this world believed that Ling Yan died, and the war between the First Domain and the Second Domain came to an end. Actually, Yi Qingtang admired Ling Yan greatly. The martial culture and skills of the Second Domain were completely above those of the First Domain, but relying just on a Ling Yan, the entire Second Domain was almost extinguished. It was to the point that the Second Domain eventually invited the Heaven Mysteries Old Man to resolve the calamity which Ling Yan laid. Otherwise, before the unforeseen events happened, the Second Domain would have already suffered defeat. Advertisement note. Please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 853 Breakthrough. Sponsored content. If Ling Yan had ambition, it was extremely great, but if it was said that he had no ambition, he really did not have any at all. Whether it be snatching the emperor's position, or destroying the Central Dynasty to rule it later on, they were all out of passivity. From what Yi Qingtang knew, Ling Yan did not have any grand aspiration to rule the world, nor did he have any desire for power. Ling Yan's life could be summarized in 8 words. Fighting with the heavens was a boundless joy. What Ling Yan wanted to fight against and trample under his foot was destiny, the heavenly Tao, and the heavens. Advertisement, you have been thinking for a while. It seems that my ending is indeed not very pleasant. Ling Yan smiled. Sponsored content, aren't you afraid? Yi Qingtang was rather surprised. Ling Yan analyzed from her expression that he did not have any good ending, but could still face it with a smile. Afraid? Ling Yan shook his head. I said that there is no predestined fate and karma. If my ending will be what you know from your previous life, and that it is already predestined in this life, that is only interesting to me then. I will personally crush this weak and vulnerable destiny. I really admired you then, Yi Qingtang said. While Yi Qingtang had a rebirth, if she had to experience the tragedies from her previous life again, it would be impossible for her to achieve it. Moreover, Ling Yan never experienced it, but knew of his miserable ending from others, and even treated it as a form of joy. Advertisement sponsored content, ha? I'm lying. Ling Yan laughed suddenly. If I'm not afraid, I would not figure out the karma and look for you. I wish to personally break the predestined fate, and only you are able to help me. Me? Yi Qingtang frowned immediately. While there was a great disparity in the skills of the first domain and the second domain in that war, the many deaths in both domains was an agonizing sight, and Yi Qingtang did not wish to be involved in it. Miss Yi, you and I don't have any good ending. You wish to crush your destiny, and only I can help you. Similarly, I only have you. Ling Yan's lips tugged up slightly. Oh, by saying that, you are out to get me, Yi Qingtang said meaningfully while looking at Ling Yan. Miss Yi, from the karma natal chart, it seems your ending is more miserable. If we have to say it clearly, why not say that it's you who is out to get me? Ling Yan said. Then, Yi Qingtang could not be bothered with talking to Ling Yan anymore, and walked ahead with great strides while Ling Yan followed right after Yi Qingtang. Sponsored content advertisement. Why are you following me? Yi Qingtang turned around and found Ling Yan following behind her. Protecting you, Ling Yan smiled. You protect me? Yi Qingtang laughed from the anger. With his martial chi level 3 third heaven skills, who was protecting who exactly? Miss Yi, I've already saved you twice. Ling Yan reminded. For a moment, Yi Qingtang had nothing to say. Regardless of how Ling Yan's martial skills were, he did save her twice. A while later, Yi Qingtang entered a cave and placed the glazed cup before her. Advertisement Ling Yan remained outside the cave understandingly and did not follow Yi Qingtang into the cave. Half a day later, a frightening surge of spirit energy seeped out of the cave. At the same time, Yi Qingtang's eyes widened immediately, and she absorbed all the spirit energy, which seeped out back into her body in a flash. Outside the cave, Ling Yan looked into the cave with interest. Breaking through to Yin Yang Perfected Lord Second Heaven, from a half-step Yin Yang Perfected Lord. Interesting. Note: please download the sponsors game to support us. Chapter 854 Life Danger Sponsored content in the cave. Yi Qingtang slowly opened her eyes and exhaled turbid qi. The spirit energy in the dragon vein was many times richer than in the outside world. Soon after she entered the dragon vein, Yi Qingtang had a sign of breaking through to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord. Now that she absorbed all the spirit energy in the glazed cup, she instantly advanced to the peak of the Yin Yang Perfected Lord Second Heaven. Moreover, the spirit energy in her body was completely absorbed, and she believed that she could advance to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord Third Heaven soon. Congratulations, congratulations. Ling Yan walked into the cave slowly sometime later. Who let you come in? Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan with a frown. Advertisement. Miss Yi is only absorbing the spirit energy in the glazed cup to have a breakthrough in your cultivation base, and you are not resting nor changing clothes. Is there anything wrong with me entering the cave? Ling Yan said with a smile. You are Ling Yan. All of a sudden, the little white tiger which suddenly woke up peeked its head out and sized up Ling Yan. Sponsored content. You are a fiend celestial beast? Ling Yan looked at the little white tiger for a moment, and said subsequently, "How do you know that I am a fiend celestial beast?" The little white tiger was stunned. "How do you know that I am Ling Yan then?" Ling Yan laughed. The little white tiger stared blankly at Ling Yan. "Actually, I have already investigated my fated person before I came to this mainland. Yi Qingtang Xuanling's sex genius disciple, who disappeared after obtaining the fiend celestial beast in the hell of Avicenaraka mystic realm. This kind of thing should not be hard to find out." Ling Yan explained. Advertisement. Ling Yan, you investigated me? Yi Qingtang asked with a frown. "It is very normal to investigate a stranger I haven't seen before. Now, I view you as a friend and am treating you with sincerity. Or else, how would you know that I investigated you before?" Ling Yan asked. Sponsored content. Although Ling Yan was infuriating, for some reason, it was extremely comfortable talking to him, and one could not be angry even if one was. "I like this fellow." The little white tiger nodded repeatedly. "It is my honor to be liked by Fiend Celestial Beast Senior." Ling Yan bent down slightly and smiled at the Fiend Celestial Beast. "You called it a senior?" Yi Qingtang's lips twitched slightly. "Although it is an infant body, it probably lived thousands of years already. It is normal for me to call it senior. If it was a human, I would call it ancestor. It does not hurt." A faint smile remained on Ling Yan's lips. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. Fuck, that makes sense. Did you hear it? I'm already a few thousand-year-old fiend celestial beast. Be more respectful to me. Sigh, the young people nowadays. The little white tiger stared at Yi Qingtang. "Little white, can I not wield a sword anymore, or are you grown now?" Yi Qingtang snickered. Sponsored content. The little white tiger shuddered and kept quiet immediately. The little white tiger gazed at Ling Yan intentionally. Back then, that elderly once mentioned Ling Yan's name. He was the only person in this world who could defuse the existence of martial skills. That elderly had an extremely serious expression when he mentioned Ling Yan. This person was an enormous variable. Advertisement. It was all up to one whether he was a blessing or a disaster. Perhaps, the appearance of this variable could change Yi Qingtang's fate that had been predestined a long time ago. That night, the little white tiger and Ling Yan had a joyous chat. Yi Qingtang chased both the man and the tiger out of the cave for them to be affectionate to one another. Outside the cave, Ling Yan asked meaningfully, "Senior, do you think that I will have any life danger for being so close to Miss Yi?" "Yes." The little white tiger nodded successively and asked, "What do you know about?" Advertisement note. Please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 855. So that is why. I don't know anything. May I know what Fiend Celestial Beast Senior knows? Ling Yan looked at the little white tiger. Sponsored content. If you don't know, then forget it. The little white tiger shook its head. It seemed that Ling Yan only calculated Yi Qingtang's karma destiny, but was still completely unaware of what would happen next. "Ling Yan, how about I tell you all of the secrets?" the little white tiger said excitedly. However, Ling Yan shook his head in response. "There's no need. If you tell me everything, what meaning is there left?" "Fuck, you're really a strange person." The little white tiger sized up the man before it curiously. A while later, Ling Yan closed his eyes to rest while the little white tiger remained beside him idly with boredom. In the dark night, sponsored content. A black ball emerged out of Yi Qingtang's body and floated outside the cave instantly. A murderous intent filled its eyes when it saw the man who was resting. Swoosh! The little black ball darted towards Ling Yan in a flash. A powerful and strange aura rushed in the air, wanting to envelop Ling Yan and crush him. At the same time, Ling Yan suddenly opened his eyes and sized up the little black ball in the air. The corners of Ling Yan's lips tugged up slightly immediately. "So that is why. I understand already. You must be conspiring something for getting close to my mother. You must die." The little black ball looked at Ling Yan and said, "You want me to die, but even you may not be able to do it, right?" There were no ripples in Ling Yan's eyes. Sponsored content. Die. The little black ball charged towards Ling Yan immediately. Without saying anything, Ling Yan slowly closed his eyes again, ignoring the murderous intent of the little black ball. Roar! Instantly, the little white tiger let out a furious roar. Its body enlarged rapidly, and it guarded Ling Yan. If you wish to kill him, get past me first. That's why I said that you cannot kill me. Ling Yan shook his head. Thank you for helping me, Fiend Celestial Beast Senior. Fuck. No wonder you asked if you have any life danger. You calculated this out from the start, didn't you? You even didn't let me return to the cave. What a good scheme. The little white tiger immediately turned around and shot Ling Yan a look. Ling Yan merely returned a small response without saying anything. Get lost. You don't have any business here. The black ball glared at the little white tiger. Sponsored content scramble back. As long as I am here, you won't even be able to find the chance to kill this fellow. The little white tiger guarded beside Ling Yan without moving an inch. Since that's the case, I will kill you two off together. The little black ball remarked coldly. Haha, if you could kill me, you would have done so a long time ago. And there's no need to wait until now. Both of us can't do anything to each other right now. Get lost. The little white tiger snickered coldly. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Ling Yan seemed to be in thought. Good. Just you wait. Seeing that it could not deal with the little white tiger, the little black ball left a threat and returned to the cave and back into Yi Qingtang's body instantly. You are really so intelligent to the point that you're unbridled. When the little white tiger saw that the little black ball backed out in the face of the difficulties, it could not help but size up Ling Yan once again. Fiend Celestial Beast Senior, you should know why it wants to take my life, right? Ling Yan smiled. Of course I do. The little white tiger nodded. Then, you and I are allies from now on, Ling Yan said. Fuck. As long as you don't have any wicked ideas and injure it, I will definitely befriend you. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you. The little white tiger said coldly. If that is the case, I believe you and I will be good friends forever. Ling Yan chuckled. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 856. Pretending to be a student. As they chatted, Yi Qingtang was woken up by strange noises outside the cave. She walked out of the cave with a frown and saw an enlarged little white tiger and Ling Yan, who was full of smiles. Sponsored content. What are the two of you doing? Yi Qingtang asked. Just now. The little white tiger wanted to speak, but was interrupted by Ling Yan. Nothing much. It's just that I haven't seen a Fiend Celestial Beast's graceful bearing before. Thus I asked Little Tiger Senior to widen my knowledge. Who are you calling a little tiger? After hearing Ling Yan's address, the little white tiger immediately stood up with an unhappy expression. What do you like then, Senior? Ling Yan asked with a smile. Call me Big Tiger, the little white tiger said proudly. Sponsored content. Alright, Big Tiger Senior. Ling Yan nodded. Are you two done? Yi Qingtang asked coldly. Afterward, she returned back to the cave, leaving the little white tiger and Ling Yan staring at each other. Ling Yan, why didn't you let me tell the truth just now? That little bastard wanted to kill you, the little white tiger said. What is the point if I said it? Only you know about it. How would others believe why it wants to kill me, especially her? Ling Yan dismissed it with a laugh. Upon hearing that, the little white tiger pondered about it, and thought that what Ling Yan said made sense. Furthermore, Miss Yi and I are not that close yet. Even if I'm really killed by it, it will only be scolded at most. Ling Yan added. Sponsored content. That little bastard even wished to seize my body previously. The little white tiger muttered. Big Tiger Senior, you should understand why it wishes to seize your body, shouldn't you? Ling Yan asked meaningfully. Fuck. Of course I know. The little white tiger nodded repeatedly. It wants my life. In the future, Big Tiger Senior must be more careful. Ling Yan reminded. Of course. I'm always paying attention to that little bastard. The little white tiger was angry once the little black ball was mentioned. Great. Our conversation will end here today. Only you and I need to know about this matter. Ling Yan stood up and gazed at the hill ahead. Sponsored content. Not long later, Ling Yan's lips curled up slightly, and he said, The time is about right. What time is about right? The little white tiger asked curiously. Nothing much. It's just that I arranged some chips for Miss Yi to survive in the dragon vein. Subsequently, Ling Yan turned around and headed back into the cave. Not long later, Ling Yan sat beside Yi Qingtang. Before Ling Yan spoke, Yi Qingtang suddenly opened her eyes. What are you doing? Yi Qingtang stood up instantly. I have something to discuss with you. Ling Yan smiled. Speak. Yi Qingtang replied. In my eternal dynasty, there is an academy called the Supreme Academy. This time, some students of the Supreme Academy came to this mainland as well and entered the Dragon Vein. I wish to let Miss Yi pretend to be a senior sister from the Supreme Academy. Ling Yan explained. Yi Qingtang was stunned and asked unknowingly, why? Yi Qingtang heard something about the Supreme Academy as well. It was one of the most renowned academies in Eternal Dynasty, and according to Yi Qingtang's memory, the president of the Supreme Academy had already relied on the Crown Prince of Eternal Dynasty, who was also Ling Yan's eldest brother. That Crown Prince wanted to finish Ling Yan off for good, and so did the Supreme Academy naturally. However, why did Ling Yan want her to pretend to be a student from the Supreme Academy? Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 857 Supreme Academy. Ling Yan, why do you want me to pretend to be a Supreme Academy student? Yi Qingtang did not understand Ling Yan's intention. Sponsored content. Ling Yan chuckled upon hearing that. Miss Yi, given your skills, do you really wish to contest against the powerful figures from the central mainland in this Dragon Vein? If you do not grab onto the opportunity, all of the destinies would have nothing to do with you. Yi Qingtang naturally understood the meaning behind Ling Yan's words. Even if her skills were at the Yin Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven currently, there was simply no way of fighting against a super figure like Yin Yang child from the central mainland. How do I pretend? Yi Qingtang did not understand. You only need this item. Ling Yan took out a token immediately. This is. Yi Qingtang had an odd expression while looking at the token in Ling Yan's hand. Sponsored content. This is the Supreme Token. Only insanely talented disciples from the Supreme Academy would have it. These disciples are managed by the Supreme Academy's president and would not appear before others. With this Supreme Token, the Supreme Academy students who entered the Dragon Vein will have to call you senior sister. Ling Yan explained. But even so, do my Yin Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven skills seem like the insanely talented disciples? Yi Qingtang asked. Miss Yi, you don't need to be worried as I have a solution for that. You just need to follow what I say. Ling Yan replied with a smile. Since Ling Yan had already said that, Yi Qingtang could only agree. Lu, Ling Yan called softly. As he spoke, there was a tremor beneath their feet, and a midget appeared in no time. Greetings, Your Highness. Greetings, Miss Yi. The midget greeted the two of them with a bow. Sponsored content. Rumors have it that Your Highness Ling Yan recruited 10 guards with special techniques. It seems that this Lu is one of them. Yi Qingtang commented meaningfully. Ling Yan only smiled at that and did not reply. Ling Yan walked forward immediately and explained his plan. Following Ling Yan's plan, Yi Qingtang left the cave directly and headed to where Ling Yan said. A while later, indeed as Ling Yan had said, a few young men and women were walking over. There were a total of 3 people, and the martial aura of each of them was way more powerful than Yi Qingtang's. Most likely, all 3 of them had already entered the early stage of an arcane supremacy. Sponsored content. Supreme Academy people, today is your death day. Lu appeared at this moment and shouted coldly. Watching Liu's exaggerated acting, Yi Qingtang closed her eyes, unwilling to look at him. Who are you? One of the Supreme Academy students asked coldly. Someone who will take your lowly lives. The midget scoffed. You don't even dare to face me with your real face, but you're making wild talk here? A female Supreme Academy student with a sweet appearance snickered. Humph. Cut the crap. Look at my Shun Tian formation. The midget tore a talisman immediately, and in the next second, the talisman was burnt. Right after, a black demon-like light immediately enshrouded the 3 disciples from the Supreme Academy. Shun Tian formation? One of the students had an astonished expression and was in disbelief. Although this type of formation was not considered too powerful, and an arcane supremacy could easily break it with a hand, these few people were suppressed to the Yin Yang perfected Lord realm when they came to this mainland. with the injection of spirit energy by that masked man to sustain the power of the formation, it was difficult for them to break it. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 858 Bastard Hidden in a Dark Corner. Yi Qingtang could not help but facepalm, as that midget's acting was overly exaggerated. Sponsored content, however. What surprised Yi Qingtang was that the midget consumed a certain elixir, and his current height was about 2 meters tall. He seemed rather muscular, and was completely different from the earlier image of a midget. Yi Qingtang could not understand one thing though. The midget was already masked and wrapped in a black robe. Thus, there was simply no way of seeing his face. Why did he need to change his build as well? Was he this afraid of being recognized by the students from the Supreme Academy? Ha ha ha. You all are stuck in this Shun Tian formation, and will not be able to escape even if you all have wings. Disguised as a black-robed person, the midget stared at the young people in the formation and cackled coldly. How hateful. You are a despicable and shameless lowly person. How dare you mount a sneak attack on us with an array formation and a talisman? And you still don't dare to face us with your true appearance. What kind of hero are you? Retract the Shun Tian formation if you are a figure. If you have the capability, release us, and let us have a battle with you. If we are defeated, we will have no complaints dying. Sponsored content. Humph. Full of crap. I didn't say that I'm a hero either. Today, you all will die in my hands. And it can only be said that all of you Supreme Academy people are useless and unable to withstand a single blow. The midget scoffed. You, scumbag. How dare you insult my Supreme Academy? In the Shun Tian formation, the Supreme Academy disciples were towering with rage and desperately wanted to chop that black-robed person into pieces. Yet, they were unable to escape from the formation. After saying that sentence, the black-robed person cast a discreet look at where Yi Qingtang was hiding at. They clearly agreed that after he said that line, Yi Qingtang would walk out from the dark and pretend to be a senior sister from the Supreme Academy. Why was there still no movement? You Supreme Academy students are all useless and unable to withstand a single blow. Completely useless. The midget said again, but with a louder voice. Sponsored content. You bastard. If you have the guts, let us out from the Shun Tian formation, and you can see for yourself if we Supreme Academy disciples are useless or not. You are a lowly person who can only use such underhanded means. You don't even have a sense of shame, and still dare to make such big talk shamelessly. Hearing that the black-robed person repeat what he said before again, all of the Supreme Academy students exploded with fury. The midge frowned and scanned the dark corner ahead, but there was still no movement. Cough cough. Cough cough. You Supreme Academy students are a bunch of useless people and cannot withstand a single blow. The midget shouted loudly. Sponsored content. Cough 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 cough. You Supreme Academy students are all useless. At this moment, the midget was close to shouting himself hoarse. At the same time, Yi Qingtang, who was hidden in the dark, looked at the midget strangely. Is he crazy? Yi Qingtang muttered. His acting skills were so exaggerated that it was an unbearable sight. I think it should be you who made him crazy. The little white tiger in Yi Qingtang's arms suddenly spoke. I made him crazy? Yi Qingtang pointed at herself instinctively with a questioning expression. What has this to do with me? The little white tiger inched closer to Yi Qingtang and licked its paws. So when do you think you should go out and accompany him with this show? Yi Qingtang was immediately stupefied when she heard the little white tiger. At that instant, the midget was roaring at the top of his lungs. You Supreme Academy students are a bunch of useless people, unable to withstand a blow. Damn you! Are you done? Let us out if you have the guts. Bastard! You already said it over 10 times. What is your intention? Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 859 Find a hole to hide in. Useless people from the Supreme Academy. Sponsored content. The midget screamed at the top of his lungs, and his voice was already a little hoarse. However, before the midget finished speaking, Yi Qingtang walked out from the dark slowly with the little white tiger, who said that the Supreme Academy does not have anyone. Yi Qingtang took a step forward and reached the midget's side immediately. "Ah, it's you. You finally came." Seeing that Yi Qingtang was here, the midge immediately pointed at Yi Qingtang and spoke. "Your line is wrong." Yi Qingtang moved her lips without a sound. "Cough cough. Ah, it's you. You're actually here." The midget corrected himself immediately. "Fuck. Can you not repeat your line?" The little white tiger looked at the midget helplessly. Ling Yin was so intelligent, but why did he have such a subordinate? Sponsored content at the same time. The disciples in the Shun Tian formation looked at Yi Qingtang one by one with surprised expressions. Yi Qingtang was wearing the Supreme Academy student's uniform from a few batches earlier. "Huh? Do you know who I am?" Yi Qingtang looked at the midget, and her lips curled up into a devilish smile. "Of course I know. You are Yi Qingtang, one of the insanely talented disciples from 3 batches earlier, who was directly managed by the Supreme Academy's president. You have frightening martial gifts, and are a super powerful figure. I never thought that you would appear here. I never thought that I would actually be able to see such a talented disciple like you in my lifetime. Humph. Am I right?" The midget scoffed coldly. The corner of Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little. Can she say no? The midget's extremely exaggerated way of expression almost caused Yi Qingtang to leave directly. Furthermore, did this midget just say her name? The lines that they practiced earlier on did not use her real name, not mentioning Yi Qingtang. Even the little white tiger could not help but shut his ears. Sponsored content. Why aren't you talking? Don't think that you can be condescending just because you're an insanely talented disciple from the formidable Supreme Academy. I am not one with an undeserved reputation. The midget said while giving Yi Qingtang a look, signaling her to follow up with her line. Humph. Don't think that you can be condescending just because. Nonetheless, before the midget finished his sentence, Yi Qingtang hurriedly waved a hand to interrupt him. That's right. It's me. Good. It's you. You finally admit it. Come on, let me take a look at your brilliance. The midget stared at Yi Qingtang and put on an extremely exaggerated stance, as though he was confronted by a formidable enemy. Yi Qingtang could point to the sky and swear that if not for the current circumstances, she would definitely turn around and leave. Come on. Come on. The midget said and curled his index finger at Yi Qingtang. Swoosh. Sponsored content unable to bear it anymore. Yi Qingtang immediately unsheathed her black sword, exuding a strange gleam. Just the force of unsheathing the sword is so powerful already. You. Before Yi Qingtang attacked, the midget's face was filled with horror as he retreated backward. Both Yi Qingtang and the little white tiger were speechless. Could this sword be the legendary executed immortal sword? The midget shouted in alarm as he stared at the long sword in Yi Qingtang's hand. This is called the Regicide Sky Blade. Yi Qingtang was at the end of her patience. What? It's the Regicide Sky Blade. Could this be the legendary heaven-level divine weapon? The midget's expression was even more horrified. Yi Qingtang sighed immediately. An imitation. Even if she was an insanely talented disciple from the Supreme Academy, it was impossible for her to possess a heaven-level divine weapon. Thus, she could only correct him helplessly. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 860, I will not let you off even if I become a ghost. Yi Qingtang once again swore to the heavens that she did not want to put on an act with this person ever again in her life. Sponsored content. If Ling Yin personally came to act with her, the effect should not be like what it was right now. Even if it's an imitation, it's already very scary. I never thought that the Supreme Academy would actually have such a figure like you. I made an error of judgment. Yi Qingtang, you can strike. It's useless to talk so much. The midget shouted sternly. Useless to talk so much? From the start to now, she only said a total of 4 words. It's me and an imitation. Full of bullshit, she shouted. Yi Qingtang frowned immediately and swept her sword across horizontally. In a flash, a frightening sword gleam slashed towards the midget. The midget had a confused expression. There should not be full of bullshit in Yi Qingtang's lines. Could it be that she improvised it? Sponsored content. As the sword gleam was slashed, The midget pointed a finger out and wanted to block it instinctively. However, he suddenly recalled his current role. Ah! Before the sword gleam attacked the midget, he was already flung out. In the Shuntian formation, the three arcane supremacies in the Supreme Academy exchanged a look. What exactly happened? Very quickly, the midget jumped up from the ground and glared at Yi Qingtang furiously. Good. I admit that I am not your opponent, but don't be too excited just yet. I cultivated an extremely frightening evil cultivation technique, and I will slay you right here today. Yi Qingtang could not hold herself back from rolling her eyes at the midget. Even if it was a demonic cult from the unorthodox, they would not call the techniques they cultivated as evil cultivation techniques, would they? Almost instantly, the midget turned into black fog, and a berserk laugh sounded from it. The black fog's speed was extremely fast, and it enveloped Yi Qingtang in it instantly. In a split second, endless spirit energy escaped into the surroundings. Sponsored content. Noticing the situation, the three arcane supremacies in the Shuntian formation had solemn expressions. That is, the deceased soul technique. It's said that the deceased soul technique can absorb the spirit energy of others by force and turn it to be used by the user. Looking at the method he executed the technique, it seems to really be similar to that of the deceased soul technique. Wild laughter erupted from the black fog. Ha ha ha, you three are pretty observant. You all actually know the deceased soul technique that I cultivated. In the black fog, Yi Qingtang's brows were tightly furrowed, and she wore a pained expression. Senior sister, the deceased soul technique can be restrained with fire. A lady looked at Yi Qingtang and said hurriedly. Sponsored content. The moment she said that, golden flames started burning around Yi Qingtang. As the flames appeared, the three arcane supremacies in the Shuntian formation were astonished. The flames on Yi Qingtang's body were actually full of the aura of destruction, like an extraordinary flame. It's an extraordinary flame. And looking at this extraordinary flame's grade, it does not seem low. Could it be that she really is a senior sister from our Supreme Academy from a few batches earlier? The three arcane supremacies in the Shuntian formation were bridled with confusion. However, before they could ponder anymore, a torturous scream rang from the black fog. You are really powerful. I will not let you off, even if I become a ghost. After saying that, the black fog turned into black sand and scattered all over the ground. Subsequently, the black sand sunk into the ground without a sound and disappeared completely. Yi Qingtang shook her head and kept her sword back into the sheath with a sharp sound. She looked at the three arcane supremacies in the Shuntian formation and walked towards it with great strides. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 861. Are you alright? Sponsored content. Senior sister, thank you for saving us. Please break the Shuntian formation and rescue us, senior sister. However, before Yi Qingtang came close to the Shuntian formation, one of the ladies hurriedly shouted to Yi Qingtang. Senior sister, careful. The moment she spoke, a shattering sound rang from behind. Almost instinctively, Yi Qingtang leaped away and retreated over 10 steps. Boom! A rumble exploded along with a slash in the air. Yi Qingtang turned around and sized up the front calmly. Sponsored content. Ahead was a completely decomposed warhorse that had purple flames lingering around its entire body. A corpse in black armor was on the back of the horse. Prehistoric human. Yi Qingtang's brows were furrowed. The supposed prehistoric human referred only to the prehistory of this mainland. It was said that before this mainland was formed, countless humans lost their lives in the battle between the true dragon and divine phoenix. Afterward, the true dragon and divine phoenix died, and the dragon vein was formed. As a result, those prehistoric humans were also buried in the dragon vein. The prehistoric human before them had been dead for many years, but it seemed to condense to a strange soul due to the wintry aura in the dragon vein, and it became a killing machine. The flaming warhorse neighed, wanting to sweep everything away, while the corpse in a black armor roared and shot daggers with his eyes. It was as though they could take away people's souls. Swoosh! Sponsored content. In the next second, the corpse rode towards Yi Qingtang, and the long knife in his hands was stabbed towards her. Fast. This strike was so fast that one could barely see it with the naked eye. Even an arcane supremacy may not be able to block the attack of a prehistoric human, much less Yi Qingtang, who was only a yin-yang perfected Lord Third Heaven currently. However, at the same time, a shadow flashed by and landed beside Yi Qingtang. Puff! The long knife pierced through the shadow. Surprised, Yi Qingtang looked at the man in white who suddenly appeared beside her. The man was wearing a mask, and there was a trace of blood on his hair. At that instant, the man's blood splattered on the corpse's body. Sponsored content. The corpse cried immediately, and the man's blood started burning, forcing the corpse to retreat. Before long, the warhorse and the corpse in a black armor dashed away and disappeared without a trace in no time. Are you all right? The man turned around and looked at Yi Qingtang. Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang was surprised. In her previous life, she once heard that Ling Yan's blood could intimidate the evil. Apart from Ling Yan, who else could this masked man be? I should be the one asking you that. Are you all right? Yi Qingtang looked at the pierced wound on Ling Yan's left shoulder and asked with a frown. I'm all right. You should be more careful. This dragon vein does not seem to be as simple as what we see. Ling Yan leaned to Yi Qingtang's ear and said softly. Subsequently, Ling Yan turned around and left this place without looking back. That person is? The three arcane supremacies in the Shuntian formation appeared to be a little confused. The magical effect of Ling Yan's blood was only circulated many years later. Currently, apart from a few certain people, most of the powerful figures had not heard of it before. And as a result, it was all the more impossible for the students of the Supreme Academy to know about it. As Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan's leaving back view, there was an inexplicable feeling in her heart. That Ling Yan suddenly appeared and took a blow for her. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 862 Travel Together. Since Ling Yan was alright, Yi Qingtang did not think much, and immediately went forward to break the Shuntian formation from the outside, and rescued the three arcane supremacies from the Supreme Academy. Sponsored content. After the three arcane supremacies were rescued out, they thanked Yi Qingtang successively. Senior sister, thank you for your help. I will never forget your great kindness from today. One of the males looked at Yi Qingtang gratefully. It isn't anything great. We are all from the same school, and there's no need to fuss about this. Yi Qingtang replied. May I ask, which batch you are from, senior sister Yi? One of the arcane supremacies sized up Yi Qingtang closely. Calculating the years, I am 3 batches before you all, Yi Qingtang responded. There was a hint of surprise in all of their eyes when they heard Yi Qingtang. May I ask if you have any proof? A lady asked. Sponsored content. No matter what, it was better to be more cautious in the dragon vein. Yi Qingtang chuckled immediately and took out a token. I've always kept this item. Can it be used as the so-called proof? This is. One of the arcane supremacies looked at the token Yi Qingtang took out in confusion. Senior sister Yi, can I take a look at it? The lady asked. Sure. Yi Qingtang handed the token to the lady. After receiving the token, the 3 people inspected it for a moment and were shocked. Supreme token. This is actually Supreme Academy's Supreme token. Sponsored content. There were less than 10 tokens produced in the Supreme Academy for every batch, and every holder of the Supreme token was an insanely talented disciple whom the president personally managed. For their batch, it was said that there were only a few Supreme tokens, and no one knew how the holders of the Supreme token looked like. After inspecting the authenticity of the Supreme token, the 3 people looked at Yi Qingtang, astonished, and cupped their fists successively. Greetings, senior sister Yi. Rise. I have already left the academy for many years. I am already satisfied with you all calling me senior sister. There's no need to be over-courteous, Yi Qingtang said. The 3 people rose after hearing Yi Qingtang. Senior sister, I am Li Bingxue. I am extremely honored to meet you today, senior sister Yi. Disciples of your level are the academy's pride. Li Bingxue looked at Yi Qingtang in admiration. In the Supreme Academy, there were so many students in every batch that it was impossible to estimate a number. But how many in each batch could possess the supreme token? Sponsored content. Yi Qingtang chuckled lightly without commenting further. Senior sister, I am Feng Wudong. One of the arcane supremacies told Yi Qingtang with cupped fists. Gu Tianhe. Another arcane supremacy added on. After Yi Qingtang took out the supreme token, the three of them no longer doubted Yi Qingtang's identity. They were naturally able to distinguish the authenticity of the supreme token. Furthermore, if not for Yi Qingtang's help earlier on, they would probably be dead in the Shun Tian formation. Junior brother Gu, junior brother Feng, junior sister Li, since you all are alright, I will take my leave first. Yi Qingtang looked at them individually and said afterward. Are you on your own, senior sister? Li Bingxue asked curiously. That's right. Yi Qingtang nodded her head. Then the person who blocked a blow for you. Li Bingxue was a little confused. Hearing that, Yi Qingtang replied without thinking. That is my companion. However, he has something to settle, so I am alone now. The three people nodded without thinking much about it. Since that's the case, why don't you explore the Dragon Vein with us, senior sister Yi? Could it be that you despise the three of us? Feng Wudong sighed. Note, please download the sponsors game to support us. Chapter 863 World as the Chessboard. Human as the Chess Pieces. Sponsor content. How would I dislike you when I have just reached this unfamiliar land? I'm still afraid that I can't get closer to the three of you. Yi Qingtang stared at Feng Wudong in confusion and asked. Haha, senior sister Yi, I was oversensitive. In this case, come along with us, Feng Wudong said. That's right, senior sister Yi. It's very dangerous in the Dragon Vein. Furthermore, our martial abilities are suppressed at the Yin-Yang perfected Lord level, and not even recovered to the Yang Lord level. It will be easier for us to discuss together if we encounter any problem. Li Bingxue smiled sweetly towards Yi Qingtang. All right, since you say so, it would be inappropriate for me to refuse. Yi Qingtang smiled slightly and took a glance at a distant place. At the same time at the distant place, Ling Yin sat beside the chessboard and closed his eyes to take a rest. Your Highness, the president of the Supreme Academy had sided with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince wanted to eliminate you at all cost. Why did you ask Lady Yi to disguise as a student of the Supreme Academy? The midget frowned and asked. He removed his black robe to reveal his true identity as he stared at Ling Yan. Sponsored content. Though Ling Yan had never made any mistakes in everything he did, the midget still felt curious. Soon Ling Yan opened his eyes slowly. His eyes seemed to be able to see through everything in the world. The Supreme Academy is not a threat to me anymore, he said slowly. Not a threat anymore? The midget was stunned for a second after hearing Ling Yan's words. He did not understand what he meant. However, since Ling Yan did not explain himself, he would not ask for the answer as well. The midget looked at the wound that was pierced through by the sword and said, Your Highness, your injury. Sponsored content. The midget could not believe what he saw when Ling Yan warded off the sword for Yi Qingtang. How would he ward off the sword for someone based on his temper? Lady Yi. She is my first important friend, Ling Yan said softly. A harmless smile was seen on his friend. Friend? The midget stared at Ling Yan in surprise. Ling Yan treated the world as a chessboard, and the human as a chess piece. The midget could never imagine that someone like him would treat a human as a friend. He would never believe it if he did not hear it with his own ears. Soon, Ling Yan took out a black chess piece from the chessboard. Sponsored content. Boom. The chess piece broke into powder and dispersed alongside the wind. Ha! Based on my older brother and the perfected Gu Yun's suspicious personalities, the Supreme Academy is gone now, Ling Yan said, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Perfected Gu Yun, who was addressed by Ling Yan as teacher, was standing on top of a cliff. His face was extremely dark. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Sight. He had never imagined that the fated person that Ling Yan insisted to look for on this piece of land would be a student of the Supreme Academy. A special student who held the Supreme Token. There were only a few special students in every batch, and they were managed by the president of the Supreme Academy personally. Perfected Gu Yun did not totally believe it when he was observing secretly at first. However, His doubt was erased when he saw Ling Yin ward off the sword for the lady. The Supreme Academy's special student with the Supreme Token, who was managed by the president, was definitely the fated person of Ling Yin. If not, why would Ling Yin come to this piece of land and protected her from the sword regardless of his own safety? Supreme President, you appear to be siding towards the Crown Prince, but secretly. Perfected Gu Yun gnashed his teeth and murmured. If the midget heard the Perfected Gu Yun's words now, he would understand what Ling Yin meant by the Supreme Academy is gone. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 864 Crown Prince Sponsored Content. Perfected Gu Yun's face was clouded. He finally understood the reason why Ling Yin had to come to this peace mainland. Previously, Perfected Gu Yun did not even bother about whether Ling Yin was looking for the fated person. However, if the lady with the Supreme Token was not Ling Yan's fated person, how could he ward off the sword for her based on his personality? Perfected Gu Yun waved his right arm to cast a mystic technique immediately. A vague and virtual shadow appeared in the midair on top of Perfected Gu Yun within a short while. Sponsored content. There was a man around 40 years old appearing in the virtual shadow. He wore a 9-claw WRM robe that made him look extremely noble. Crown Prince. Perfected Gu Yun greeted towards the middle-aged man. The man waved his hand and said, "How?" "Ling Yin has found his fated person, Your Highness," Perfected Gu Yun said. A cold glint flashed across the man's eyes after hearing Perfected Gu Yun's words. Sponsored content. Ling Yin had a karma bloodline. The consequences would be unimaginable if he found his fated person. The only power that he dreaded of in the entire Eternal Dynasty was Ling Yin. His father also thought highly of Ling Yin. If Ling Yin met his fated person, he might not be the prince heir anymore. "Is it true?" The man's face darkened. "It's true, Your Highness. Ling Yin entered the dragon vein alone these days, and did not allow me to follow. Then, I chose to enter the place first and wait for his appearance to observe him secretly. I just witnessed that he was willing to sacrifice himself and ward off the sword for a lady." Perfected Gu Yun explained. "Who is that lady? Is she from your mainland?" The Crown Prince of the Eternal Dynasty asked. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Site sponsored content. Perfected Gu Yun shook his head and said, "I thought that she was from this mainland at first. However, the lady held the Supreme Token and saved a few students of the Supreme Academy. Though I did not hear what they were talking about, they seemed to be very close." "You're saying that the Supreme Academy did not side towards me wholeheartedly?" Cold glints flashed in the Crown Prince's eyes continuously. "I'm not sure about that." Perfected Gu Yun shook his head. I was still wondering why the Supreme Academy would choose to side with me so easily and agree to help me to take down Ling Yan. If they sided with Ling Yan first, they definitely followed Ling Yan's instructions and were on the undercover job by pretending to side with me. The Crown Prince smashed the table in front of him into pieces. "It's not totally impossible, Crown Prince," Perfected Gu Yun said. "The president of the Supreme Academy eliminated the execution sect according to Ling Yan's command. However, the execution sect was still fighting back resistantly to now, and is yet to be destroyed. The execution sect has definitely surrendered to Ling Yan's sect forces. If the president of the Supreme Academy also listened to Ling Yan, the attack on the execution sect by the Supreme Academy was not real. They would not go harsh on them. I'm afraid that this is the reason why the execution sect is still not destroyed, even though their strength is weaker than the Supreme Academy. You don't need to worry about that. Remember, kill Ling Yan's fated person no matter what happens. Kill Ling Yan as well if you have the chance," the Crown Prince said coldly. "Rest assured, Crown Prince." Perfected Gu Yun nodded his head and said. The virtual shadow disappeared when he waved his right arm again. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 865 The Plot at one of the ridges in the dragon vein. After a few days. Sponsor content. Ling Yan's eyes that seemed to contain the entire universe were filled with smiles. The midgets stood beside respectively, but did not say anything. Thank you, Your Highness. The execution sect will not be facing any problems in the short future. I have no idea why that the Crown Prince summoned the president of the Supreme Academy and tried to assassinate him. Though he managed to escape, he was injured heavily. The Crown Prince sent military forces secretly to attack a few base camps of the Supreme Academy. A virtual image of an elder appeared beside Ling Yan. Ling Yan smiled and said, "The execution sect will have time to recover." Excitement filled the elder's face. Though he did not know why the Crown Prince would suddenly attempt to assassinate the president of the Supreme Academy, he understood that this was done by Ling Yan based on his confident look. However, he would never be able to know how Ling Yan managed to do that. Thank you, Your Highness. If you did not lend us a helping hand, the execution sect would not have been able to survive another attack from the Supreme Academy, the elder said with graciousness. Sponsored content. The elder added, Your Highness, since the Crown Prince also targeted the Supreme Academy, and the president was injured, I suggest that the execution sect can take the initiative and attack the Supreme Academy. However, Ling Yan shook his head and said, No. Instead, I want you to help the Supreme Academy. The elder was stunned after hearing Ling Yan's words. The Supreme Academy was a strong opponent. Why should they help them when they had the chance to kill them? Yes, the Crown Prince is always very suspicious about everything. If you help them this time, the Crown Prince will believe that the Supreme Academy has sided with me. No matter how the Supreme Academy tries to explain in the future, the Crown Prince will never trust them anymore. The only path that is left for the Supreme Academy is to side with me wholeheartedly. Brilliant. No one else will be able to think of such a strategy, Your Highness. The elder exclaimed. Sponsored content. Go ahead. As Ling Yan waved his hand, the virtual image of the elder disappeared. The midget sized up his master. He could plan everything without any flaw. The sword that he warded off for Miss Yi had resulted in so many chain reactions. Besides saving Miss Yi's life, he saved the execution sect from the desperate situation under the attack from the Supreme Academy. He even broke the relationship between the suspicious Crown Prince and the president of the Supreme Academy. It was even possible to recruit the Supreme Academy under him. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Sight. Everything was just the result of the sword that Ling Yan warded off for Miss Yi. What was more terrifying was that none of these were planned by Ling Yan before. The prehistoric dried corpse existed in the dragon vein. Even Ling Yan could not control its appearance and whether it would attack Miss Yi. Sponsored content. However, Ling Yan could instantly seize the opportunity that normal people would even notice. Then, he achieved a series of things at the next instant. The midget could not help but take a cold breath. It was lucky that he was Ling Yan's henchman. If he was the Crown Prince's henchman, Your Highness, perfected Gu Yun will definitely try to kill Miss Yi. Do we need to protect her? The midget looked towards Ling Yan and asked. Ling Yan shook his head and said, He will definitely try to kill her. But Miss Yi has 3 arcane supremacies following her with the little white tiger. It's disappointing if he does not do anything. He's been fated to die ever since I brought him over. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 866 The Bloodline of the Jiang Family Clan. The midget frowned slightly and looked towards Ling Yan. He hesitated for a while and said, My Highness, will Miss Yi be alright? Perfected Gu Yan is strong. I can protect Miss Yi secretly. However, if we let her face him herself. Sponsored content. Ling Yan said slowly. So you're saying that my decision is inappropriate? I don't dare to judge your decision. The midget kneeled on the ground with one leg immediately. Based on her karmic natal chart, her future will not be peaceful. If she remains as a flower in the greenhouse without going through any hardship, even I cannot change her destiny when she loses her own strength. Do you know how most of the powerful people's offspring die? Ling Yan said. Yes, whenever they face some problems, those powerful people will appear and solve them. This results in the children being mediocre and arrogant. The day when the powerful people leave is the day the children will die. The midget sighed. He had witnessed so many such cases, just like his older brother's child. Miss Yi is definitely not this type of person. Furthermore, she is strong and powerful, more powerful than both of us could imagine. It's possible that our survival and death will be held in her hands. Your concern is not necessary. Ling Yan waved his sleeve and walked forward. Sponsored content. Yi Qingtang was walking into the deeper part of the forest with Feng Wudong, Li Bingxue, and Gu Tianhe. A figure appeared in the midair, and then disappeared. That's Yi Yu. Yi Qingtang recognized Yi Yu with just one glance. I did not expect Yi Yu to be here as well. Li Bingxue stared above her and said coldly. You know Yi Yu? Yi Qingtang asked. Yi Yu seemed to vaporize from the world ever since she saw her at the Hell of Avicenaraka last time. She reappeared at the region of the Dragon Vein this time. Sponsored content. However, Yi Qingtang was curious about why Li Bingxue and the rest would know about Yi Yu. Who's Yi Yu? How come I don't know as well? Junior sister Li. Gu Tianhe looked at Li Bingxue in confusion, and so did Feng Wudong. Both of them had never heard the name Yi Yu before. Jiang Duanshan's granddaughter, Li Bingxue said mysteriously. Feng Wudong and Gu Tianhe were both shocked when they heard the name of Jiang Duantian. Jiang Duantian was the domain master of the first domain. His martial ability was above everyone else, and he was the renowned supreme chief. Wait, how can he have a granddaughter when he doesn't even have a daughter? Gu Tianhe frowned and asked. Sponsored content. I'm not clear about that, but I heard about it during a conversation between the president and an elder, Li Bingxue said. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Site. Yi Qingtang was deep in thought. Yi Qingtang surely knew about Yi Yu's identity since she had lived 2 lives. The Jiang family clan was the first family with a surname in the central mainland. Jiang Duantian had a daughter who was obsessed with the cultivation of space array formations. Some mistakes happened when Jiang Duanshan's daughter was setting up a space array formation, and it went across the dimension wall of the mainland and came to this place. She then met one of the great elders of Yi family, Yi Yu's father, Yi Yin. The two of them gave birth to Yi Yu. Yi Yu contained the bloodline of the Jiang family clan, which could be sensed by the Jiang family. However, the dimension wall blocked off the sensor of bloodline. After the dimension wall was destroyed, the Jiang family sensed Yi Yu's bloodline instantly and brought her back to the central dynasty. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 867 Midnight Whisper. Sponsored content. It was years later when Yi Yu was brought back by the Jiang family in her previous life. However, the dimension wall was destroyed earlier as a result of Yi Qingtang, and the Jiang family managed to sense the Jiang bloodline in Yi Yu's body. Yi Qingtang's original plan was to take her revenge before Yi Yu was brought back by the Jiang family. However, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. Man proposes, God disposes. She was still a step late. The reason why Yi Yu could reach the Paragon Great Empress was closely related to the Jiang family's nurturing. You know Yi Yu as well, senior sister Yi? Li Bingxue asked curiously. I was just asking. Yi Qingtang smiled and said. Li Bingxue nodded and did not think much about it. Soon midnight arrived. Yi Qingtang sat on the ground and entered a state of meditation. Miss Yi. Sponsored content. Ling Yan voice was suddenly heard. Yi Qingtang opened her eyes almost instantly and sized up her surroundings. I'm in your pocket, Ling Yan said. Yi Qingtang took out the supreme token from her pocket, and Ling Yan's voice came from the token. I installed a voice transmission stone into the supreme token, Ling Yan said. Yi Qingtang was totally not surprised by such a trick. It's quite late now. What do you need? Yi Qingtang asked. My teacher intends to kill you now. Ling Yan's voice came out from the token. And then, Yi Qingtang felt triggered about that. She would not have been involved in so much trouble, if it not because of Ling Yan. Sponsored content kill him, Ling Yan said. Your Highness, are you joking with me? Or tell me what's the cultivation level of your teacher? Yi Qingtang frowned and said. The second stage of the arcane supremacy, divine arcane supremacy. Ling Yan replied. Yi Qingtang almost threw the supreme token away when she heard that. There would be two stages when a cultivator reached the arcane supremacy. The first stage was the virtual arcane supremacy. The second stage was the divine arcane supremacy. Every stage was divided into 5 heavens. People at the virtual arcane supremacy had to reach the 5th heaven to strive towards the divine arcane supremacy. Though Gu Tianhe, Li Bingxue, and Feng Wudong were at the arcane supremacy level, all of them were still at the first stage, virtual arcane supremacy. However, Ling Yan's teacher had reached the divine arcane supremacy. Sponsored content. The difference between the two was the same as the difference between the Yin Lord and the Yang Lord of the Yin Yang perfected Lord level. Nothing was comparable. Are you scared, Missy? Ling Yan's laughter came from the supreme token. Scared? Why will I be scared? I shall prepare myself to be killed when he comes. Yi Qingtang shook her head. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Sight, you're angry with me, Missy, Ling Yan said. At least you're smart, Yi Qingtang said. Yi Qingtang had no relationship with Ling Yan's teacher. However, he intended to kill her now because of Ling Yan. How was it possible for her not to be angry? Don't worry too much, Miss Yi. This piece of mainland limits the ability of arcane supremacy. Even my teacher's ability is limited to the 6th heaven of the Yin Yang perfected Lord. Furthermore, you have 3 disciples at arcane supremacy with you. Why do you need to be scared? Ling Yan said. You're asking them to die for me? Yi Qingtang frowned. Why would I be bothered with others' lives? I only need you to be safe. And that's enough for me. Ling Yan smiled and said. Before Yi Qingtang could reply, Ling Yan added. If that doesn't work, you can use your spirit ring to kill him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip. You can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note, please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 868. Aren't you scared? Sponsored content. My ring? What ring? Yi Qingtang did not know what he was talking about, and her face was filled with confusion. Of course, I'm referring to the ring on your finger, Ling Yan said. Yi Qingtang sized up her fingers instinctively as she heard Ling Yan's words. There was only one ring on her finger, which was given by Han Songming, the palace lord of the Antiquity Palace. However, how would Ling Yan know the name of the ring? And the ring could even kill his teacher. You know about this ring? Yi Qingtang was shocked. Of course, Ling Yan said. Wait, you know about Han Songming? Yi Qingtang frowned and asked. Sponsored content. Han Songming. Ling Yan was silent for a while at the other end of the supreme token. Han Songming. I almost forgot about this name. There was no clear reply from Ling Yan. How did you know about this ring? Yi Qingtang asked confusedly. After a long while, Ling Yan's voice came out from the voice transmission stone again. Of course. The ring belonged to me. What did you say? Yi Qingtang could not believe what she just heard. However, before Yi Qingtang could say anything else, Ling Yan interrupted. Miss Yi, I was just joking. But remember, the ring is powerful, and you can only use it once only. After Ling Yan finished his words, there was no more sound coming out of the supreme token, no matter how Yi Qingtang tried to ask or call him. Sponsored content. She did not fall asleep for the entire night, and the next day arrived. Gu Tianhe, Feng Wudong, and Li Bingxue came to find Yi Qingtang. The area they were at was considered a dead vein. They needed to go deeper for more exposure. Junior brothers and junior sister. I think we should go our separate ways from now onward. Before the 3 of them said anything, Yi Qingtang first spoke. After hearing Yi Qingtang's words, the 3 of them were stunned slightly. Why was that necessary when nothing had happened? Senior sister Yi, are you leaving? Li Bingxue held Yi Qingtang's arm and asked. Yes. Yi Qingtang nodded. Sponsored content Senior Sister Yi, why is that so? Did we do anything wrong? Feng Wudong asked confusedly. It's not related to you. It's just that, my enemy is going to kill me anytime. I don't want to drag you into that. Yi Qingtang sighed and said. Enemy, who is that? Gu Tianhe said coldly. Perfected Gu Yin. Yi Qingtang said. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Cite Perfected Gu Yin? Isn't he the teacher of the eternal dynasty Ling Yan? He's just Ling Yan's servant. Feng Wudong scoffed and said. Don't be afraid, Senior Sister Yi. The Supreme Academy is at the complete opposite end with Ling Yan. We are loyal to the Elder Prince only. If the perfected Gu Yin wants to kill you, he's committing suicide. Li Bingxue said. That's right. If we kill the perfected Gu Yin, we will get an award when we return to the Supreme Academy. Feng Wudong nodded and said. Not many people knew that the perfected Gu Yin actually sided with the Elder Prince. He was still Ling Yan's person on the surface. Students of the Supreme Academy would definitely not know the complicated relations in between. Yi Qingtang was speechless as the three of them were eager to fight the perfected Gu Yin. Now, she understood the reason why Ling Yan was so sure that the three people would agree to fight against perfected Gu Yin. If they met perfected Gu Yin, they would fight him with all their strength even if Yi Qingtang was not around. Once the perfected Gu Yin died in their hands, they would definitely be rewarded after they returned to the Supreme Academy. Perfected Gu Yin was at the Divine Arcane Supremacy. Aren't you scared? Yi Qingtang said. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 869. Can you run away? The three of them were silent after hearing what Yi Qingtang said. As what Yi Qingtang said, perfected Gu Yin was at the Divine Arcane Supremacy level. But they were just at the Virtual Arcane Supremacy level. After a while Gu Tianhe said, It's okay. We do not need to worry about that too much. No matter how strong he is, his ability will be limited at the Yin Yang Perfected Lord level on Piece of Mainland. That's right. There's no chance of escaping. If we meet perfected Gu Yin outside, we will not even get the chance to fight back. However, everyone here is at the Yin Yang Perfected Lord level. We can try our best to fight and kill him. We will be rewarded when we get back to the academy. Feng Wudong nodded and said. Li Bingxue was also tempted upon hearing Feng Wudong and Gu Tian's words. Senior Sister Yi, you cannot leave. We can combine our forces and kill perfected Gu Yin. Then we shall split the credits, Feng Wudong said immediately. If Yi Qingtang left, the three of them would not dare to challenge perfected Gu Yin. Okay. Since you're so determined, I shall thank you for your help. Yi Qingtang folded her fists towards the three people and said, Haha, that's what we should do. We should thank you for such a rare opportunity to kill perfected Gu Yin. Feng Wudong was slightly excited as he said. Yi Qingtang discussed strategies with the three of them instantly. Soon, the three of them left, and Yi Qingtang remained at somewhere far away. Yi Qingtang crossed her legs and sat on the ground to consolidate her cultivation. Yi Qingtang gently touched the spirit ring that Ling Yin mentioned. She hoped that the ring would be as powerful as Ling Yin described. Hopefully, the power it contained would be able to kill perfected Gu Yin with one attack. Though Yi Qingtang had no relationships with the three people, she found that the three of them were kind after spending a few days with them. In all honesty, it was not that they were going to fight against perfected Gu Yin just because they wanted to help her. They were just manipulated by Ling Yin, as he knew about their greed towards rewards. However, no matter what, Yi Qingtang did not want anything to happen to them. She might still use the ring at the critical moment. The sky appeared to be golden in color at dawn. Swoosh! A piercing sound was heard. An elder appeared in midair at the next second and looked downward at Yi Qingtang. Young lady. A cold voice came from his mouth. Yi Qingtang opened her eyes and looked towards the elder as she heard the voice. Her face was full of confusion, and she asked, May I know who are you? What do you want? Perfected Gu Yin waved his sleeve and said, Are you a student of the Supreme Academy? Yes. Yi Qingtang replied. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Site, do you know Ling Yin? Perfected Gu Yin continued. Yi Qingtang's face changed immediately, and she said, Ling Yin, Highness. Of course, but he doesn't know me. Oh, is that true? Then I'm curious about why he would ward off the sword for you. Perfected Gu Yin scoffed. You? How did you know? Yi Qingtang stood up instantly and stared at the elder. Humph, young lady, you will die here today. The moment he finished his words, he dashed towards Yi Qingtang. However, before Perfected Gu Yin could get close to Yi Qingtang, she used all her strength and ran towards the forest with her full speed. Humph, can you run away from me? Perfected Gu Yin sneered and followed up. Chapter 870 Flawless Yi Qingtang ran into the deeper parts of the forest within a second. Perfected Gu Yin was extremely fast as well. He turned into a streak of light and disappeared as well. Soon, Perfected Gu Yin traced Yi Qingtang's leaving path and entered the deep parts of the forest. However, at that moment, golden rays of lights appeared around him, and he smelled something ancient. Perfected Gu Yin's face changed instantly. Before he had any reaction, he was surrounded by the golden rays of light. Sealed Sky Formation? Perfected Gu Yin sized up his surroundings in the golden light and murmured. The Sealed Sky Formation was a special array formation of the Supreme Academy. It was invented by a few of the previous presidents together. The Sealed Sky Formation was extremely powerful, but it required a few people to set up the formation. It would take a few hours at least. Why is there a Sealed Sky Formation here? Yi Qingtang walked out from the dark. She scoffed as she stared at Perfected Gu Yin, who was trapped inside the golden light. Perfected Gu Yin would never be able to imagine that his every moment was well known by Ling Yin. He would not expect that Ling Yin had warned her earlier that Perfected Gu Yin would try to kill her, and she had prepared the Sealed Sky Formation of the Supreme Academy to lurk him into the trap. You were prepared. Perfected Gu Yin, who was trapped inside the golden lights, said coldly as Yi Qingtang appeared from the dark. Isn't that obvious? Yi Qingtang scoffed. You knew when I was going to find you, so you set the golden light array. Perfected Gu Yin scoffed. What a shame. You found out about it way too late. Yi Qingtang replied. How did you know my presence, and how did you know that I would be here to kill you? Perfected Gu Yin frowned and said. However, before Yi Qingtang said anything, Perfected Gu Yin's expression suddenly changed. Is it Ling Yin? Perfected Gu Yin seemed to recall something suddenly and was shocked. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Site, you're smart. It's Ling Yin indeed. Yi Qingtang smiled softly and said, It's impossible. How could he know that I betrayed him? Furthermore, I wasn't with him for the whole time recently. How could he know that I would be here to kill you? Perfected Gu Yin shouted angrily. All the things he had done were considered flawless. He even hid his martial breath when he stalked Ling Yin. He always stood far from here, so he was sure that he would never be discovered. However, despite that, Ling Yin still discovered his identity. Yi Qingtang shook her head and said, Why are you still asking so many questions when you know he's Ling Yin? He would definitely know everything since you betrayed him. What he had done was based on his own inference. Even if he inferred wrongly, he could just prepare beforehand to prevent any loss. You have at least followed Ling Yin for so many years. How come your understanding of him is scarcer than mine? Bullshit, Perfected Gu Yin shouted in rage. Everything he had done was useless and a waste of time. He was like a naked clown in Ling Yan's eyes. Perfected Gu Yin, you're trapped inside the Sealed Sky Formation now. What else can you do? Yi Qingtang said. Upon hearing Yi Qingtang's words, Perfected Gu Yin pulled himself out from his thoughts. A cold smile appeared on his face, and he said, Young lady, do you really think that the Sealed Sky Formation of the Supreme Academy can trap me forever? We should wait till they use up their energy. The two people were students of the Divine Virtual Academy in the Central Mainland. Around 10 of them entered the Dragon Vein this time. the Divine Virtual Academy, and the Supreme Academy, were in conflicts over the past hundreds of years. Whenever the students of the two academies met, they would use their swords to fight each other. One misspoken word might lead to a fight that determined one's survival. "You little bastards! You will be dead today." A glint of cold light flashed across Perfected Gu Yun's eyes. He then took out a gold square seal from his space ring. Heaven Tremor Seal. Divine Arcane Supremacy Dharma Treasure. Gu Tianhe and Li Bingxue were shocked when they saw the square seal in Perfected Gu Yun's hands. Chapter 872 Great Enemy. The Dharma Treasure was matched with different cultivation levels, such as the Yin-Yang Perfected Lord Dharma Treasure, Arcane Supremacy Dharma Treasure, and Heavenly Venerate Dharma Treasure. Every Dharma Treasure was extremely precious, and the Arcane Supremacy Dharma Treasures were very rare. Li Bingxue and Gu Tianhe had never heard of the Heavenly Venerate Dharma Treasure at all. There might be a few in the entire central mainland. The square seal that Perfected Gu Yun was holding was called the Heaven Tremor Seal. According to the rumors, one of the powerful Inhumans was killed and taken back by humans when the Inhuman race attacked the first domain in the past. The seal was equivalent to the second stage of the Arcane Supremacy Dharma Treasure. It was extremely powerful, though the spirit energy was limited on this mainland, which restrained cultivators' abilities that only applied to cultivators. The Dharma Treasure still worked, and their power was not influenced at all. The three of them were all stunned when Perfected Gu Yun took out the Divine Supreme Dharma Treasure. An ominous feeling arose in their hearts. "Break!" Perfected Gu Yun shouted coldly. The Heaven Tremor Seal rose at the next second and radiated dazzling lusters. It hit the sealed sky formation at the next instant. Crack! Crack! Broken sounds arose in the midair, and golden rays of light fell from the sky like golden rain. Shit! Gu Tianhe was shocked. The Heaven Tremor Seal's one hit was able to break the sealed sky formation. Don't panic. The Heaven Tremor Seal is a Divine Supreme Dharma Treasure. His ability is suppressed at the Yin-Yang Perfected Lord level on this mainland. Based on his current ability, his power will be drawn from his body every time he uses the Dharma Treasure. He will not be able to use that many times. Feng Wudong frowned and said. Li Bingxue and Gu Tian's expressions were slightly better after they heard Feng Wudong's words. As Feng Wudong had said, the Divine Arcane Supreme Dharma Treasure was equivalent to one at the Divine Arcane Supremacy. One could only use the Heaven Tremor Seal perfectly with the Divine Arcane Supremacy's ability. Perfected Gu Yun was an Arcane Supremacy, but his martial ability was suppressed heavily on this mainland. His fighting ability was only at the Yin-Yang Perfected Lord level. As a Yin-Yang Perfected Lord, how many times could he use the Divine Supreme Dharma Treasure? Young people, I want you dead. Perfected Gu Yun finally escaped from the sealed sky formation. His sinister eyes swept across the three people. The students of the Supreme Academy had just entered the Arcane Supremacy level not long ago. They were just normal virtual Arcane Supremacies. They were like ants in his eyes. However, the ants pushed him to such an extent that he had to exhaust almost half of his energy to use the Heaven Tremor Seal. Perfected Gu Yun, based on your current ability, you can use the Heaven Tremor Seal at most 3 times. You used it 1 time just now, and you are left with 2 more times. If you use it by force again, your energy will be totally depleted, and you will be dead by then. Feng Wudong shouted harshly. Perfected Gu Yun, we have 4 people here, but you are only left with 2 times to use the Heaven Tremor Seal. We will use 2 of our lives in exchange for your life. Gu Tianhe said. Swoosh. Perfected Gu Yun did not reply. Instead, he reached in front of Feng Wudong instantly. Before the rest knew what happened, Perfected Gu Yun punched towards Feng Wudong. No one could see clearly how Perfected Gu Yun attacked, and even Yi Qingtang merely saw the track of his punch. Nonetheless, in the next second, a loud thunderous boom erupted. Feng Wudong, pale, was hurled away before crashing at a far place like a kite with a snapped string. Puff! Feng Wudong spat a mouthful of blood after landing on the ground. Very quickly, Perfected Gu Yin placed the Dharma treasure back in his space ring before sweeping a glance at everyone as though he was looking at ants. He said coldly, "Do I still need to use the Heaven Tremor Seal the second time to deal with you all?" "You." As though she was facing a strong enemy, Li Bingxue immediately unsheathed her sword with a sharp sound. "Junior Sister Yi, Senior Sister Yi. Let's join forces and fight it out with Perfected Gu Yin." Gu Tianhe looked at Yi Qingtang and Li Bingxue individually. Even if Perfected Gu Yin's skills were repressed to the Yin Yang Perfected Lord realm in this mainland, they could not be compared to Perfected Gu Yin in any aspect, even though they were all at the Yin Yang Perfected Lord realm as well. In these past few days, Yi Qingtang's body had completely used up the spirit energy in the glazed cup, and her martial realm was stabilized at the Yin Yang Perfected Lord Third Heaven. Yet it was still too far away compared to Perfected Gu Yin. For Li Bingxue and Gu Tianhe, they currently only had the combat power of a Yin Yang Perfected Lord Fourth Heaven. Meanwhile, Perfected Gu Yin was at the Divine Arcane Supremacy realm in the Central Mainland, and although his martial skills were severely repressed, he still had the combat power of a Yin Yang Perfected Lord Sixth Heaven. Currently, even if Yi Qingtang, Li Bingxue, and Gu Tianhe joined forces, there was no possibility of winning given the overly huge gap between them and Perfected Gu Yin. Yi Qingtang could not help but find it a pity. If Perfected Gu Yin did not have the Heaven Tremor Seal, a Divine Arcane Supremacy Dharma treasure, it was impossible for him to break the Sealed Sky formation, which was equivalent to a definite death. That way, Yi Qingtang's spirit ring could be saved. However, the current circumstances were completely beyond control, and the spirit ring was Yi Qingtang's last hidden card. Yi Qingtang had an extremely solemn expression. According to what Ling Yan had said, the spirit ring could only be used once, and she had to achieve a kill within a shot. Otherwise she, Li Bingxue, and Gu Tianhe would definitely die today. "Lowly dog, I want your life." An extremely frightening martial aura exploded from Li Bingxue. She turned into a passing shadow, and she slashed her sword towards Perfected Gu Yin. Noticing the situation, Gu Tianhe launched a killing move as well, and fought Perfected Gu Yin with his life. The two people were not foolish and naturally understood that if they did not fight it out with Perfected Gu Yin today, they probably would not have any more chance to do it again. Perfected Gu Yin's skills were much more powerful than theirs, and even if they fled, it was simply impossible for them to escape from Perfected Gu Yin's hands. If they did not go all out, they would definitely die, but if they did, perhaps there was still a possibility of survival. However, Yi Qingtang remained far away, and did not join forces with Li Bingxue and Gu Tianhe. Instead, she continuously changed her angle and position in search of the best opportunity. Yi Qingtang was aware that she only had one chance, and that the outcome would be disastrous if she failed this time. Boom! Pow! Before long, Perfected Gu Yin struck a fist and a palm out at the same time. Li Bingxue and Gu Tianhe, who were no match for Perfected Gu Yin, were flung far away from the impact successively. Die! With a stern shout, Perfected Gu Yin grabbed Gu Tian's body and wanted to tear Gu Tianhe into pieces with unparalleled brute force. A miserable cry escaped Gu Tian's mouth. Chapter 874 Frightening Skills. Li Bingxue shuddered upon witnessing the sight, and a trace of fear finally emerged on her exquisite face. Perfected Gu Yin's skills were too powerful, and even if they joined forces, they still had no chance of winning. This match would definitely end with their death. From the moment they decided to attack Perfected Gu Yin, perhaps their outcome was already decided. Ah! The miserable cries persisted, and Gu Tian's body seemed to be about to be torn into pieces. "How's it? This isn't a good feeling, isn't it?" Perfected Gu Yin scoffed. "However, don't be afraid, I will not let you die so easily. I will let you enjoy this painful process well." From a side, there were still blood stains on the corners Li Bingxue's lips as despair filled her heart. "Kill me! Quickly kill me!" Gu Tianhe could no longer bear this pain, and was only thinking of seeking death. "I will fight it out with you." At this instant, an icy aura exploded from Feng Wudong. who was previously hurled away by perfected Gu Yun, and he flew to perfected Gu Yun's side immediately. Hearing that, perfected Gu Yun shot a look at Feng Wudong indifferently as a scorn hung on his lips. Then, he used his imposing manner, and immediately hurled Feng Wudong away from the impact. "Alright, I'll send you all off. There's no need to thank me for my compassion," perfected Gu Yun said, and the strength in his hands increased all of a sudden. However, at this moment, swoosh, a deafening sound reverberated in the surroundings. It was as though it was the very first sound that exploded when the universe was first created, shaking one's mind. Perfected Gu Yun's expression changed immediately when he heard the sound, and almost instinctively, he turned around to look behind immediately. However, just as he was turning around, a black ray of light that could hardly be seen with the naked eye condensed into that of a thin thread. Its speed was extremely fast, and it appeared in perfected Gu Yun's sight in the blink of an eye. Puff! Under Li Bingxue and Feng Wudang's shocked gaze, that black ray of light pierced through perfected Gu Yun's glabella in an instant. In the next second, a mix of red and white unknown liquids gradually flowed out of the hole in perfected Gu Yun's pierced skull. Perfected Gu Yun widened his eyes in disbelief. He followed the trajectory of the black ray of light and looked towards Yi Qingtang, who was standing far away. In at most a few breaths, perfected Gu Yun staggered, and the ground was stained into a strange, demonic red by the blood. Boom! Before long, perfected Gu Yun's body collapsed on the ground squarely. After twitching for a while, he no longer had any movement and died at the scene. This? Li Bingxue and Feng Wudong exchanged a look and instinctively looked at Yi Qingtang. Senior Sister Yi, is actually this powerful? Shock filled Feng Wudang's face. Lie. It's a lie, isn't it? How did she do it? That is perfected Gu Yun. Li Bingxue's mouth was agape. Yi Qingtang was a distance away from Li Bingxue and Feng Wudong. Hence, they naturally did not know that Yi Qingtang was rubbing the plain-looking ring on her finger, and thought that Yi Qingtang slaughtered perfected Gu Yun with her own skills. It was not just that. In a corner in the forest, the two students from Divine Virtual Academy stared in bewilderment. Since when did Supreme Academy produce such a scary student? Even that well-known perfected Gu Yun was so easily killed by her. Quickly leave. If that woman from the Supreme Academy discovers us. One of the male's forehead was beaded in cold sweat. The Supreme Academy and Divine Virtual Academy were like ice and fire. Whenever the students from these two academies met, their eyes would be blazed with hatred, and they would beat each other to death. Initially, they planned to hide in the dark and reap the spoils of the fight without lifting a finger. Yet looking at it now, they should just forget about it. The two people then retreated cautiously. How are your injuries? Very quickly, Yi Qingtang walked forward and looked at the three people. Among them, Gu Tian's injuries were the most serious. Still all right, Gu Tianhe said between large pants. Senior Sister Yi, you are too amazing. Feng Wudong looked at Yi Qingtang with reverence. Earlier on, he originally thought that there was no hope left, but who knew that Yi Qingtang would kill perfected Gu Yun with just a move? Yi Qingtang could not be bothered to explain anything either. She walked to perfected Gu Yun's side swiftly. She searched his body and found a few bottles of elixirs. Consume it. Yi Qingtang immediately took 3 sacred healing elixirs and tossed 1 to 3 of them each. The 3 people consumed the elixirs immediately with gratitude. This sacred healing elixir was carried by powerful figures of the divine arcane supremacy realm. Thus, its effects definitely could not be compared to that of her own healing elixirs. Subsequently, Yi Qingtang took perfected Gu Yun's space ring without a sound and kept it. The space ring of a divine arcane supremacy. With just a casual thought, one would know that there was definitely shocking wealth in it. From just what Yi Qingtang knew, there was a heaven tremor sealed Dharma treasure, which was of a divine arcane supremacy level. Senior Sister Yi, perfected Gu Yun's head. Feng Wudong smiled at Yi Qingtang. Currently, perfected Gu Yun's space ring disappeared, which meant that Yi Qingtang must have taken it. Perfected Gu Yun was single-handedly killed by Yi Qingtang, and they naturally had no objections. However, perfected Gu Yun's head had some temptation to them. A large reason as to why the three of them were willing to take a risk was also because they wanted to obtain perfected Gu Yun's head. Immediately, Li Bingxue and Gu Tianhe looked at Yi Qingtang with desire as well. Yi Qingtang pretended to be deep in thought, and subsequently acted as though she was very reluctant. All right, perfected Gu Yun's head is all yours. The three of them were extremely excited upon hearing Yi Qingtang's words. Haha, thank you. Thank you so much, Senior Sister Yi. Feng Wudong hurriedly thanked with cupped fists. Senior Sister Yi is the best. Li Bingxue had a delighted expression. Swiftly, Gu Tianhe stepped forward and beheaded perfected Gu Yun before storing it in his space ring. At this moment, the three people were gathered together as they discussed how to obtain the greatest benefit from this head after they left the dragon vein. On the other hand, Yi Qingtang stood aside and took out perfected Gu Yun's space ring. However, this space ring was sealed by a powerful mental seal of a divine arcane supremacy. Given Yi Qingtang's current abilities, it was not realistic and almost impossible to break the mental seal of a divine arcane supremacy and open this space ring. Yet the more it was so, the more curious was Yi Qingtang. What kind of immense wealth was there in the space ring of a divine arcane supremacy? Just a heaven tremor seal at the divine arcane supremacy level was already priceless. Chapter 876. In the name of the demon god, Yi Qingtang held perfected Gu Yun's space ring in her hand. She frowned and immersed herself in her thoughts. The value of the space ring was unmeasurable. However, if she could not open it now, it was considered useless. If she wanted to open perfected Gu Yun's space ring, she must enter the second stage of the arcane supremacy, which was the divine arcane supremacy, and use the same mental power to destroy perfected Gu Yun's mental power. Otherwise, it was impossible. Maybe Ling Yin can figure out a way, Yi Qingtang murmured. At the peak of a snowy mountain at the same time, Ling Yin was in deep thought as he saw a plant that wilted in a short period of time in front of him. Han Songming. A luster flashed across Ling Yan's eyes after a long while. What a familiar but unfamiliar name. Ha ha ha, Ling Yan, it's been a long time. An elder's voice suddenly came from a far place. Ling Yan looked forward instantly. An elder slowly walked closer with a silver wolf. If Yi Qingtang was present, she would be surprised by the identity of the elder. He was Master Du, who was missing for a long period of time. You're here. Ling Yan smiled and looked at Master Du. Haha. I have been here for quite a while, Master Du said and walked towards Ling Yan. However, astonishment appeared in the silver wolf's malicious eyes when its eyes landed on Ling Yan. It sniffed Ling Yan continuously with its nose. Ling Yan, do you recognize the silver wolf? Master Du smiled and asked. Ling Yan smiled and shook his head, but he did not reply. The silver wolf was transformed by the demon god, Han Songming. Master Du said meaningfully. Well, everyone knows the power of the demon god hundreds of years ago. He was one of the top 3 strongest people together with the Fiend Honor and Human Emperor. However, everyone thought that the Fiend Honor was a fiend, that the Human Emperor was a human, and that the demon god was a demon. Ling Yan, do you think the demon god was transformed from a real demon? Master Du added. Blossom takes 100 years, and Wilt takes another 100 years. He could be a human before the 100 years of Blossom, and could have become a demon after the 100 years of Wilt. None of these matter in this world. Ling Yan smiled and replied. Ha ha ha, Ling Yan. You still like to say such mysterious stuff that other people do not understand. You should know that the demon god was called by this name just because he had the intelligence of a demon. No one could compare with him. Even the strongest among the 3, Heavenly Emperor, was tricked by the demon god. However, why does the demon god not have the intelligence anymore today, after hundreds of years? Why does he loses his feelings and emotions, and only exists as a person with insane martial ability? Master Du shook his head and said, Is it? Then that's strange. Ling Yan smiled. The demon god back then was less powerful than the Heavenly Emperor, but he was never at a disadvantage when facing the Heavenly Emperor. During the war at the Eternal Peach Garden, The demon god was surrounded by 30,000 people. It was supposed to be a deadly situation, but a few of his casual sentences made the 3,000 people, including the heavenly emperor, not dare to attack. The demon god left the place with a sinister smile under everyone's gaze. By coincidence, I was there as well. As Master Du was speaking, his eyes constantly sized up Ling Yan. However, it seemed that Ling Yan was listening to someone else. He showed no emotion or reaction. Ling Yan, don't you think that it's strange? The demon god back then could see through people's hearts, and he could turn around a deadly situation with a few sentences. Hanged Songming was incredibly striking. How come the demon god now only keeps the martial ability back then? All his emotions and intelligence is missing, and he is only left with an emotionless body? Master Du said. Chapter 877, A Striking Plan. So, what do you want to say? Ling Yan finally spoke after a long time. Master Du shook his head and said, Nothing. I just feel that. The demon god's soul was gone long ago. Based on your intelligence, can you figure out where his soul and mind are now? Everything is based on your assumptions now, right? Ling Yan smiled and said, Right. Those are all my assumptions, and I think I can continue to presume. Ling Yan, do you think that the demon god knew about his death tribulation from the heavenly emperor and pulled his heart and soul out of the body using his demonic intelligence? He then became another person and left his martial talents and ability in that body. The death tribulation would only look for that body. No one could ever imagine that the demon god's soul and heart would be reborn in a normal human who would carry the demon god's memory. He hid in the dark to fight against the heavens and his destiny, Master Du said. You have a wild imagination. So based on what you have said, the demon god not only schemed his destiny, but also himself. Ling Yan chuckled and said, That's right. The demon god did not absorb his own power, and left the body as the heavenly Tao might discover his plan. If my assumptions were correct, I have to say that I really admire him. The demon god abandoned his martial talent and ability, and became a useless person who could not cultivate after he was reborn. Just like you. Master Du said. So you're saying that I'm useless? Ling Yan replied, but he did not seem to be offended. Haha, Ling Yan, I'm just telling the truth. Based on your martial ability, any cultivator from the central mainland can kill you easily, Master Du said. Before Ling Yan continued to talk, Master Du suddenly stared at Ling Yan seriously and said, Ling Yan, even if you're given the power that can turn over the entire world, you will not accept it. Besides lacking martial talent, you're afraid that destiny may sense your presence. You're the true demon god, and Han Songming was just a body. He does not have much thinking, no emotions, and he can only execute actions based on right or wrong. Even the name Han Songming belongs to you, right? Master Du did not give Ling Yan any chance to reply as he continued. The demon god knew something from the heavenly emperor, and he started to plan and scheme everything using his one and only demonic intelligence. He even treated himself as the chess piece just to trick his destiny. He pulled out his soul and heart, and was reborn with entire memory. Eventually, he became the third prince of the eternal dynasty. The name Han Songming was the past tense. He was reborn as Ling Yan now. However, his body continued to live in this world with the identity as the demon god. No one knows that the demon god now does not have feelings, emotions, and thoughts. He can only live with instincts. The real demon god manages to trick everyone with his intelligence, and plans everything in the darkness. Everything is under his control. After a long time, Ling Yan smiled and said, Interesting. It seems like it's true that the dragon's intelligence is above everyone else. I almost believed your story as well. Chapter 878, Inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. Shed off your human skin, Ling Yan said after a while. As Ling Yan finished his words, a strange smile appeared on Master Du's face. His entire body transformed into a layer of skin, and an azure little dragon walked out of the skin slowly. You told me that there was a place with dragon vein that belonged to my clan on this piece of mainland back then. You asked me to hide here, and it has been so many years. The little azure dragon stared at Ling Yan in discontentment. You belong to the dragon clan, one of the 4 fiend celestial beasts, and only you can sense the presence of the dragon vein. You can also ignore the existence of the dimension wall. Ling Yan smiled and said, Humph. I'm the great fiend celestial beast with supreme intelligence. I was schemed by you previously. If not, how could I sign a contract with a useless person like you? The little azure dragon scoffed coldly. Ling Yan asked the little azure dragon to enter the mainland secretly back then. The little azure dragon then disguised as the refining master and searched for the dragon vein. However, if you're the real demon god, I will feel more balanced with the contract signed. Can't you admit it to me? The little azure dragon begged. Ling Yan smiled and shook his head. Ling Yan, I don't believe that my assumptions are wrong. The little azure dragon refused to accept that it was wrong. It suspected Ling Yan's identity long ago. However, by coincidence, the demon god Han Songming transformed into a silver wolf and followed Yi Qingtang. Based on the little azure dragon's observation, Han Songming had incredible martial ability and now functioned with little thoughts. He was still an empty body that contained energy. He could not even be called as a complete human. So based on what you have said, the demon god Han Songming is the same person as me? Ling Yan said. Wrong. Han Songming was your name. Even the demon god now is your body. You can trick everyone besides me. I belong to the Azure Dragon clan. We're the most intelligent ones among all the demonic beasts. Of course, we're slightly less intelligent than you. Slightly. The little azure dragon shook its head and said, Nonsense. Don't think about these things anymore. I'm Ling Yan, not the demon god. Ling Yan said. It's okay if you don't want to admit it. They were just my assumptions, the little azure dragon said. Then I think it's better for you to not presume things in the future. Ling Yan stared at the little azure dragon meaningfully. Talk about the dragon vein. Ling Yan said seriously after a short while. The dragon vein here is totally different from the one described in the rumors. One of the strong azure dragons in my clan fell in love with the divine phoenix. However, they encountered the heavenly demon, and that resulted in an epic war. The true dragon and the divine phoenix fought together against the heavenly demon. Eventually, all 3 of them were dead and fell here. The little azure dragon contemplated for a while and said, Furthermore, the white tiger beside Yi Qingtang knew about my true identity long ago. It just did not expose me. Why do you want me to lead Yi Qingtang to the dragon vein? The little azure dragon was confused. Miss Yi is my best friend. I think the inheritance of divine phoenix in the dragon vein is suitable for her. Ling Yan said. What? Do you know how rare and precious the inheritance of divine phoenix is? Now you want to give it to her. Giving it to me will be better than giving it to her. Are you humane? I treated you wholeheartedly all the time. The little azure dragon's face was filled with astonishment. Ling Yan was not angry after hearing its words. He just smiled and said, Well, share the inheritance of the true dragon. I don't think that you're suitable for the inheritance of the divine phoenix. Chapter 879 The Azure Dragon 1. The little azure dragon was in thought. It then looked towards Ling Yan and asked in disbelief, You're really willing to share half of the inheritance of the true dragon with me just for her? The little azure dragon was clearly aware of how precious the inheritance of the dragon vein was to Ling Yan. However, it'll just be a possession in my life that I can't take away with me if I'm dead. It doesn't matter if I share half of it with you. Ling Yan smiled and said, That's not what you said previously. I'm curious. If you were the demon god, what kind of death calamity would make you leave your body and be reborn with your soul and memories? It's not the heavenly emperor who caused the death calamity, right? The little azure dragon asked meaningfully. 30,000 people, and the heavenly emperor could not do anything to the demon god. The demon god left under everyone's gaze. Thus, based on its assumption, the demon god was definitely not afraid of the heavenly emperor. However, if it was not the heavenly emperor, who else could force the intelligent demon god to the standard that he needed to come out with such a plan? The azure dragons possessed demonic intelligence. However, he had no clue about that. I think you are less smart than the white tiger beside Miss Yi. Ling Yan smiled and shook his head as he stared at how confused T Azure Dragon was. What did you say? The Azure Dragon shouted in a rage after hearing Ling Yan's words. It just has thicker skin than me. It's not smart. I guess that it's guided by someone else, but I presume everything by myself. It's a totally different case. Ling Yan just smiled gently, but did not say anything. Let's leave. I get irritated whenever I see it. The little azure dragon stared at the silver wolf beside Ling Yan and said, RW000000. However, the silver wolf suddenly gained courage and gnashed its teeth at the little azure dragon. Oh, that's interesting. The silver wolf that was formed from the demonic air seems to be very close to you, Ling Yan. The little azure dragon said, and stared at Ling Yan meaningfully. Aren't you very close to me as well? Ling Yan said. Uffed. The little azure dragon scoffed, and was about to grab the tail of the silver wolf and leave. RW000000. However, the silver wolf was getting fiercer, and was not willing to leave. Is this a dog's nature when it sees its master? Forget about it. You can wait for your death here. The little azure dragon scoffed. The little azure dragon then put on its human skin, disguising itself as Master Du, and left. In the dragon vein at the same time, Li Bingxue and the rest left earlier as they had something else to deal with. After the three people left, the little white tiger suddenly probed its head out, and looked towards the distant place. Fuck. No wonder I could sense the breath of the fiend celestial beast on that old man. I did not expect that it would be an azure dragon. What azure dragon? Yi Qingtang, who was observing the space ring, suddenly asked. Nothing. I was just saying that there's an azure dragon in the dragon vein, the little white tiger said. A dead one. Yi Qingtang was curious. Alive, the little white tiger explained. How old is the azure dragon? Yi Qingtang asked again. Also at its infant stage, the little white tiger said. Yi Qingtang's eyes suddenly sparkled, and she said, Little azure dragon. Little white. Do you think we should? Are you going to ask me to catch the azure dragon and sign a contract with it as well? The little white tiger's face was filled with astonishment. Yi Qingtang nodded immediately. Though she had a little lightning dragon, the lightning dragon was totally incomparable with an azure dragon. The lightning dragon belonged to a normal dragon clan, but the azure dragon was one of the 4 fiend celestial beasts. If she could get the azure dragon, she would possess one more fiend celestial beast. Chapter 880 The Azure Dragon 2. No. After knowing Yi Qingtang's plan, the little white tiger shook its head continuously. The azure dragon's intelligence is the top among the fiend celestial beasts, and the best in millions of demonic beasts. I don't think it's a good idea to catch it. It'll be a waste of time, and we may be killed by it. Though it's at its infant stage, we're not sure whether we can beat it. Furthermore, my clan has always been on good terms with azure dragons. You asked me to help you to catch it. What if it's leaked out? How am I supposed to live in this world? All demonic beasts will look down on me, and all fiend celestial beasts will treat me as a shame. The little white tiger said seriously. If it really did something like that, not only would its clan of fiend celestial beasts blame it, but their relationship with the azure dragon clan would also deteriorate. The little white tiger was not stupid. It would never do something like that. The little white tiger was so unwilling to help and complained constantly. Yi Qingtang sighed and said, Why do I need you then? Ha ha ha, brother Yi Chen, we happen to meet again. Before the little white tiger could say anything, Master Du suddenly appeared. Master Du. Yi Qingtang was delighted when she saw Master Du's appearance. The azure dragon is here now. You can catch it by yourself. I will not be part of this. The little white tiger smiled. A trace of confusion appeared in Yi Qingtang's eyes. Master Du stared at the little white tiger fiercely. What do you mean? Yi Qingtang frowned and asked the little white tiger. Literal meaning. You want the azure dragon? He's here. The little white tiger raised its front paw and pointed towards Master Du bastard. If my clan did not help you when you were in need in the past, your clan would be erased from the 4 fiend celestial beasts. How dare you to blow my disguise? You shall wait for the consequences. Master Du pointed at the little white tiger and cursed. Who blew your disguise? I was just speaking randomly. You just admitted it yourself. This is none of my business. The little white tiger was slightly intimidated. Master Du! Yi Qingtang stared at Master Du, and surprise appeared in her eyes. However, the moment when Yi Qingtang said her words, Master Du shed off the human skin in front of her, and revealed the azure dragon's true appearance. What? Master Du you? Yi Qingtang opened her eyes wide. Master Du was transformed by the azure dragon. A tiny azure dragon appeared in front of Yi Qingtang. It was at most an arm's length. The little azure dragon was slightly bigger than the lightning dragon. It stood straight on the ground with its back claws, but its size was really tiny. Yi Qingtang's eyes sparkled when she saw the little azure dragon. So cute. Yi Qingtang hugged the little azure dragon in the next second. She touched and rubbed it with her hands constantly. This was the first time she saw an azure dragon in her 2 lives. She thought that the azure dragon would be a huge and majestic dragon that flew in between the clouds. How could an infant azure dragon be so adorable? Due to the extreme intelligence that the azure dragon possessed, its eyes appeared to be brighter than the lightning dragon's ones. Be more serious, please. The little azure dragon felt speechless after being rubbed and touched by Yi Qingtang for a while. Now it felt that Ling Yin was much better. At least he would not rub and touch him all the time. Master Du, based on our relationship, how about, let's sign a contract? Yi Qingtang looked at the little azure dragon and said immediately. Chapter 881 Precious and Current Life 1. I have signed a contract with Ling Yan. The little azure dragon totally sold Ling Yan out. Ling Yan. A trace of surprise appeared in Yi Qingtang's eyes. How did he manage to sign a contract with an azure dragon when he did not even have any martial ability? The azure dragons worship intelligence more than power, the little azure dragon said. Yi Qingtang stared blankly at the little azure dragon. Ling Yan is my good friend. His will be mine. Yi Qingtang was not willing to let go of the little azure dragon. I'm not involved in this, okay? You should know that I did not say or do anything. In the future, when you see my clan and yours, don't mention anything. If not, I'll beat you to death. The little white tiger tried to pull itself out of the situation here. Before the little azure dragon could say anything, Yi Qingtang added, I'm intelligent as well. It will be enough. The little azure dragon pointed at the little white tiger with its claw and said. Yi Qingtang looked towards the little white tiger, and she had mixed feelings. She sighed and said, Ling Yan asked me to look for the inheritance of the divine phoenix. Forget about the contract then. I think that Ling Yan is good enough. Since the little azure dragon had signed a contract with Ling Yan, she did not need to care about this anymore. Let's go. The little azure dragon struggled to free itself from Yi Qingtang's arms and walked forward. The little azure dragon led Yi Qingtang to a giant divine tree after 3 days. There was a narrow path a few miles behind the divine tree. The wintry aura was getting more intense. The divine beauty tree? I did not expect there to be a holy tree at this place. The little azure dragon was slightly stunned. Yi Qingtang was also surprised and said, I heard that the divine beauty tree can show your previous and current lives. Just a rumor. The little azure dragon shook its head. Yi Qingtang was attracted by the divine tree's aura. Suddenly, a strange luster exploded out of the divine tree, and Yi Qingtang was surrounded inside the luster. The next second, Yi Qingtang saw herself being chased by millions of people in her previous life in disbelief. At the last moment of her previous life, Yi Qingtang crushed the heart of the demon god. She did not want anyone to have it, even if she had to sacrifice her life. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply as her life was replayed. However, a man in white appeared slowly. Found it. His pleasant and deep voice was covered by the wind. The man slowly squatted down and touched the bloody wound gently using his long and elegant fingers. Wisps of breaths were emerging continuously from Yi Qingtang's wound and slowly into the man's palm. The breaths then formed a translucent heart. When the heart was about to condense into the solid form, the breath suddenly dispersed. The heart that was about to condense dispersed into particles, scattering around the body of Yi Qingtang. A trace of blackish-green light sparkled in the man's deep eyes. I see. The man's finger pointed at the area between Yi Qingtang's brows the next second. A streak of golden light diffused into the area softly. When the golden light diffused into Yi Qingtang's glabella, her breathless body suddenly radiated golden rays of lusters, and slowly faded in the wind. As the golden light disappeared, the man lifted his head slowly. His dark green eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Soon, the man raised his right arm, and the endless power of karma surrounded the place. I found about everything too late in this life. Go back. This time I'll prepare everything and wait for you. The man murmured to himself, and left a mark on his own karmic natal chart. Chapter 882 Previous and Current Life 2. Yi Qingtang was the only one who could be reborn. The Ling Yin she would meet in her new life would not have any old memories. The reason he left a mark on the karmic natal chart was to prepare everything that was going to happen. Even if Yi Qingtang was reborn, as long as he could see the relationship between Yi Qingtang's karmic natal chart and his, he could figure out everything. Soon, the sky seemed to be inverted, and time flew past. Surprise appeared in Yi Qingtang's eyes when he saw the man's face. Ling Yan. In the fragmented images of her previous life, the man in white who appeared in the end was Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang saw the short image after she died in her previous life. Ling Yan used all the power in the karma bloodline for her to be reborn. Yi Qingtang finally understood why she was reborn at this moment. It was Ling Yan who used all his karma bloodline in order for her to be reborn. If she did not witness that with her own eyes, Yi Qingtang would never believe all that. She had no relationship with Ling Yan in her previous life. She only heard about the news that Ling Yan was missing. She did not know why he would appear on the Lingyun Peak and use his own karma bloodline to help her to be reborn. Ling Yan. Why would he do that for her? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly, and her eyes were filled with confusion. At the peak of the snowy mountain, the wind howled through the snow. Ling Yan walked over slowly and sat on the ground. He looked up into the sky repeatedly. His black hair was swinging in the gale. It seems like the azure dragon still has some intelligence, Ling Yan murmured after a long time. However, I did not expect that the death calamity would arrive so early. It seems like my decision previously is right. Ling Yan's eyes sparkled as he murmured. The body now only followed its instinct and was not driven by intelligence. The body was also willing to obey the instructions from the guide to be together with Yi Qingtang. All the things the body did were for the heart of the demon god. However, it was ridiculous that the heart of the demon god was the cause of the death calamity. He managed to trick everyone, and no one would know his true identity. The death calamity would not land on him. Thus he could stay out of all these to break the death calamity. That was the only way he could survive the calamity. Ling Yan also had thought about taking back his power in the past. However, after serious consideration, he gave up on the plan. If he was too powerful, he would capture Destiny's attention. The consequences would be unimaginable if Destiny found out his true identity. Since he left all his power behind, he had no intention to take them back now. Miss Yi, I used the power of the karmic natal chart for your rebirth. Was that a right or a wrong decision? Ling Yan's black eyes suddenly turned into a dark green color that looked demonic and mysterious. He raised his eyes slowly and looked towards the distant place. Yi Qingtang's karmic natal chart was placed in front of Ling Yan. There was an obvious mark that appeared on Yi Qingtang's karmic natal chart that could only be noticed by Ling Yan. From Yi Qingtang's death in her previous life, it was not hard to notice that Yi Qingtang's soul was affected by the power of karma and was able to be reborn in this life. Chapter 883 How Dare You Trick Me? 1. Ling Yan closed his eyes. There was a karmic imprint, which he left on Yi Qingtang's karmic natal chart. That was sufficient to prove that Yi Qingtang's rebirth was completely his doing. However, Ling Yan still had not figured out why he wanted to let Yi Qingtang be reborn. Because he did not have any memories from his previous lifetime, he could only work through the weak information slowly. A long time later, a faint smile broke out on his almost flawless face, and he took out a voice transmission stone from somewhere. "Miss Yi," Ling Yan said with a smile. Very quickly, Yi Qingtang's voice sounded from Ling Yan's voice transmission stone. "What is it?" "There's nothing. It's just that I haven't heard your voice for a long time and am missing it," replied Ling Yan. There was silence in the spirit stone. A long while later, Yi Qingtang's voice gradually sounded. "We have only met each other for a few days, but you're missing my voice already? If I can meet Miss Yi, that will naturally be the best," Ling Yan said. "Where are you? I happen to have something to ask you." Yi Qingtang replied. "If you wish to meet me, you just need to ask Master Du to lead the way." The smile remained hanging on his lips. Before Ling Yan could continue speaking, Yi Qingtang had already switched off the voice transmission stone. At this instant, Ling Yan was playing with a blue stone, which exuded a wintry aura, and his entire body was enveloped in the wintry aura. This blue stone was formed by the dragon bone of the true dragon. To obtain the inheritance of the true dragon, one had to be guided by this item. Otherwise, it was not realistic to find the true dragon's inheritance in a short time. However, at the same time, an elderly's eyes were burning after sensing this blue stone from mid-air. Yet, he automatically shuddered when he noticed Ling Yan's face. How hateful! This treasure actually fell in his hands. The elderly gritted his teeth. There was a youth who followed behind the elderly. "Master, he is merely martial trash. Let's just snatch it." "Snatch?" The elderly scoffed. "Disciple, do you know who that man is?" "I don't." The youth shook his head. "Eternal Dynasty's third prince, Ling Yan," the elderly said. A shiver ran down the youth's spine immediately when he heard the elderly, and he hurriedly said, "Master, let's leave quickly. I heard that even an arcane supremacy at his peak was toyed to death by Ling Yan." "Humph. Ling Yan is alone, but dares to hold the dragon bone so openly. He must have made full preparations. Forget it, let's go." While the elderly was not resigned to take it lying down, he did not dare to really strike and snatch it either. Some time after the elderly brought the youth away, another figure appeared there again. The person had above-average looks, and there was an indifferent expression on her face. If Yi Qingtang was here, she would definitely be able to tell that this person was none other than Yi Yu with a look. The bone of the true dragon? Yi Yu looked at Ling Yan below, and saw the blue stone in his hand. It had already been some time since Yi Yu arrived in this dragon vein. She originally wanted to search for the inheritance of the true dragon and divine phoenix, but there was no progress at all until now. She was attracted over by the wintry aura at this place. If she could obtain the bone of the true dragon, she would be able to locate the inheritance of the true dragon in the shortest time. Almost without hesitation, Yi Yu gradually descended, and was already standing beside Ling Yan a few breaths later. Chapter 884. How dare you trick me too? In no time, Yi Yu slowly landed beside Ling Yan. Her eyes were extremely cold as she sized up the bone of the true dragon in Ling Yan's hand. At this instant, Ling Yan looked at Yi Yu expressionlessly as he sat cross-legged on the ground. "Do you wish to live or die?" Yi Yu threw the question coldly. However, Ling Yan smiled faintly after hearing Yi Yu. His lips curled up slightly, forming a devilishly charming smile. "May I know what enmity you and I have? This is our first meeting, but you're asking about my life or death. I don't know who you are, but I recognize the bone of the true dragon in your hand," Yi Yu said coldly. "Oh." Ling Yan immediately raised the bone of the true dragon. "You're talking about this? Hand it to me, and I can spare your life," Yi Yu said. Once she obtained the bone of the true dragon, she could follow the wintry aura on the bone of the true dragon, and find the inheritance in this dragon vein. "So this stone is called the bone of the true dragon?" Ling Yan smiled. "Since you like this stone, you can have it then." Then, Ling Yan tossed the bone of the true dragon to Yi Yu instantly without hesitation. Once the bone of the true dragon was in her hand, she felt a penetrative wintry aura, that was extremely chilly, making it seem as though she had fallen into an ice cave. It indeed is the bone of the true dragon, Yi Yu muttered as she inspected the blue stone in her hand. However, she was increasingly confused. The man before her clearly knew that this item was the bone of the true dragon. Why would he still give it to her so easily, such that there was not a slight change in the expression in his eyes? You have already gotten what you want. Why are you still here? Could it be that you still want to kill me? Ling Yan asked. You are very sensible. Yi Yu studied Ling Yan, and it was then she realized that this man was extraordinarily good-looking. He was seated on the floor, and seemed as though he had walked out of a painting. It was a pity that his martial cultivation was a sorry sight, as he was only at the martial chi level 3 3rd heaven realm. Ever since Yi Yu was acknowledged by the Jiangs of the central mainland, she headed to the central mainland, where the Jiang family was in, and her martial cultivation base had long advanced. Currently, even an ordinary yin-yang perfected lord was nothing to Yi Yu, much less someone who was at martial chi level 3 3rd heaven. Swoosh! In the next second, Yi Yu's figure ascended into the sky and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Secretly, she hid in the cloud layers. After Yi Yu completely disappeared, Ling Yan stood up slowly as his eyes mindlessly glanced at the sky. An unknowing smile was hung on his lips as he walked towards a cave, not too quickly nor slowly. About a few breaths later, Ling Yan finally entered the cave. There was a spring in this massive cave, and in the spring visibly laid a fiery red long feather. The long feather was about the length of an arm, and exuded an extremely hot aura. This searing aura was completely covered by the spring, and there was simply no way for others to sense it. Ling Yan took a few steps forward, and stretched his hand into the spring, wanting to retrieve the fire feather. However, a figure arrived swiftly. Before Ling Yan could make a move, the figure had already taken the fire feather out from the spring. Yi Yu looked at the fire feather in her hands and said coldly, "No wonder you were still so calm and composed even after handing the bone of the true dragon out. It turns out that you still have the feather of the divine phoenix." "Huh. Miss, have you heard that if one is too greedy, there will definitely not be any good outcome?" Ling Yan looked at Yi Yu with an inexplicable smile. Chapter 885 How Dare You Trick Me 3. A glint flashed across Yi Yu's eyes when she heard Ling Yan. Presently, the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix had all fallen into her hands. The bone of the true dragon represented the wintry yin aura, while the feather of the divine phoenix possessed the wintry yang aura, with both corresponding to the inheritance of the true dragon and the divine phoenix respectively. Now that she had obtained the feather of the divine phoenix and the bone of the true dragon, the inheritance of the true dragon and the divine phoenix would also be hers. Then, apart from the inheritance of the heavenly demon, which she had already obtained, she would be able to gather all three great inheritances, and could become a true domain monarch of the first domain, just like her grandfather said. "You have too many words." Yi Yu glared at Ling Yan, and a murderous intent arose instantly. However, before Yi Yu could do anything, Ling Yan slowly walked to the spring with his hands behind him, as though he was taking a casual stroll in his courtyard. "Calm down, miss," Ling Yan smiled faintly. "How about this? Let's play a game." "Game?" Yi Yu stared at Ling Yan. "Oh, what game do you wish to play?" "This game is simple." Ling Yan replied slowly. "I will use this feather of the divine phoenix and the bone of the true dragon to exchange for the inheritance of the heavenly demon you have obtained. How about that?" Yi Yu's expression changed instantly after hearing what Ling Yan said. She did obtain the inheritance of the heavenly demon, but it had not even been a day since her feat. How could anyone else know about it? "How do you know that I have the inheritance of the heavenly demon?" As she spoke, a frightening murderous aura exuded around her. The consequences would be dire if others knew about this. No matter what this person had told. "Miss, I don't only know that you possess the inheritance of the heavenly demon. If I guess correctly, you should be a descendant of the Jiang clan," Ling Yan said with a smile. "You? Who exactly are you?" Yi Yu's voice was extremely cold. "Who I am is not important." Ling Yan shook his head and continued. You only have 2 routes today. The first is to leave the inheritance of the heavenly demon behind. However, I'm afraid you don't wish to know what the second route is. I am curious what kind of route is the so-called second route. Yi Yu stared at Ling Yan. In her eyes, this man was already a dead person. It is death. Ling Yan smiled. You have a death wish. Yi Yu hollered angrily. With the flick of her wrist, she immediately slammed a palm down at Ling Yan. Yi Yu believed that given her cultivation realm, this man, who was only at martial chi level 3 3rd heaven, would be crushed by her hit. However, at this instant, a figure flashed by and stood before Ling Yan in an instant. Yi Qingtang just rushed over, but saw someone wanting to kill Ling Yan. When she took a clear look of the attacker, she was taken aback that it was actually Yi Yu. However, before Yi Yu could react, a frightening roar erupted from both the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix in her hands at the same time. In the next second, before Yi Qingtang's surprised eyes, the left side of Yi Yu's body was burning with raging flames, while the right side of her body was covered in frost. At the same time, Yi Yu's miserable cry reverberated in the cave. Ling Yan, what is going on? Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan immediately. Upon hearing that, Ling Yan flashed a faint smile. Miss Yi, isn't it very nice to watch the show here? What is happening? Pain filled Yi Yu's face as she stimulated the primordial qi in her body. Nevertheless, the flames and frost on her body did not reduce at all. Miss, I clearly told you just now that from ancient times till now, almost all greedy people do not have any good outcome, but you did not listen. Ling Yan's lips were tugged up slightly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.